chat a little bit more about that.
All right, welcome. Thank you for everybody who's joining us. In accordance with the provisions of MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, notice is hereby given that the Planning Board will meet on Tuesday, January 13th, 2026 at 7 p.m. in Town Hall Meeting Room 124. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in person at 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass., or by the remote Zoom connection provided. Please note that in-person meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the remote connection. All right, so the entire board is here today, so we will not have to do any roll call votes, but I will introduce everybody. I am Chris Montfort. I am the chair of the board. We have Gary Sullivan, our vice chair, Daniel Seeger, the clerk, Melissa Mayo, Gary Searle, Richard McCarthy, our town administrator, and our administrative assistant, Betsy Fajol. So first up, we have a 7 p.m. public hearing for 19 Valley Street with a request for continuance to February 10th, 2026. So I'm looking for a motion to continue the 19 Valley Street public hearing to February 10th, 2026 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. All right, since no one left, I guess that's not why you were here tonight. All right, up next, Rich, let's go through 11 Shire Drive's request for occupancy.
Yes. Beta Group performed site observation inspection. There's a few things that need to be completed, which are really more spring related and growing season. So recommendation is recommendation to the planning board to recommend to the building commissioner is a temporary occupancy permit, which I think makes sense to bring it through May.
May 31st?
Yeah, I would say May 31st.
So it has time to grow?
So here's time to grow.
All right. I'm okay with that. Any questions from the board?
No.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion to extend a temporary occupancy for 11 Shire Drive until May 31st.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. All right, Medway Branch Shared Use Path update.
You here?
You guys are all set.
We'll do the 10.
May 31st?
Yeah.
Yep, and
All right.
we'll send a letter to the building department tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. All right, Rich, Medway Branch Shared Use Path update. Where are we at?
We're, the application to the Complete Streets program was submitted for the section from Boardman Street to Tucker Road. We already have the segment going further into the transfer station from Tucker to Barnstable. We haven't heard yet as of that. The plan is to submit to the Mass Trails grant program for the design, engineering, and permitting, rather than necessarily using the off-site mitigation money.
Okay.
We did, actually, Betsy did do some little research, and in terms of that off-site mitigation, so it first came into existence by Article 20 in 2000. And we'll make copies of this to give it to all the board members and the public as well, but the article was established a planning board revolving fund for receipt of mitigation funds required by the planning board relative to off-site improvements required due to the approval of subdivision site plans, with their authorization to the planning board to expend funds in the account for such off-site improvements. Such payments shall not exceed, at the time in 2000 was up to $300,000 in the aggregate during fiscal year 2001. Then the following year, it was voted the same language, it increased the amount up to $500,000 in the aggregate for fiscal year 2002. We don't have anywhere that amount of money in that account, so we're well below that threshold. But that was the creation of the fund. And as we discussed previously, it's on the discretion of the planning board how to expend the money. So what we talked about previously in terms of using it for the design, engineering, and permitting for the shared youth path is within scope. In fact, they actually did, what was the other expenditure? I'm trying to think, a few years ago.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't
Well-
know if I have access to that.
It's probably not that important, but the point is that what I requested from you to spend the money is within the authorization to do it. It's not outside of it. Doesn't have specific strings to it, per se. Now, hopefully, we get the Mass Trails grant, so we don't need any money at all. So we'll see from there.
Do we know of any other towns that have applied and received funding for that?
Not yet. So the Mass Trails is due February.
Oh, got it.
February, so
Okay.
we're not there.
Do we know anybody else who's submitting against it?
No.
It's usually a pretty big program, if I
It's a pretty,
remember correctly.
it's a
yeah.
pretty competitive program.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay.
28 Long Meadow, pretty short update. As you know, as you look by the career opportunities for the town of Norfolk, we do not have a permanent DPW director or assistant DPW director who, under the bylaw, is the
Authority.
position, the authority to start the administrative process for finding. So until we get somebody into that position, we're kind of in a holding pattern. I have not heard anything absolutely at all from the property owner, council, engineers, et cetera. So it's going to be a,
And it has to be the permanent, it can't be the acting DPW director. It has to be a permanent in place DPW.
it doesn't necessarily have to be the permanent, but the acting is not really having the hours to act to be able to do it, unfortunately, because they're unlimited hours. Now, the good news, I feel is good news, at least for my side, and hopefully you all. Rob Gary is going to be starting on January 20th. So there's probably about 40 listed items that I'll need to bring to his attention, so this will be one of them that we need to kind of see where we're at to take some action, because we're in a holding pattern here. So,
Okay. All right, seeing as how we still have time before our next public hearing, why don't we move on to reviewing and approving the meeting minutes for the December 9th and December 22nd meetings.
All right, I know the minutes were in the pack. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, comments, or edits for either meeting minutes? No? All right. Seeing none, take a motion to approve the meeting minutes for December 9th, 2025.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll take a motion to approve the meeting minutes for December 22nd, 2025.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
All right, wow. Let's just
6 minutes to go.
zooming through these. Not quite enough time to do the fire station. Or the bylaw amendments for the 2026 town meeting.
Let's start talking about bylaws?
Yeah, might as
no,
well.
not really.
No?
No?
Okay, never mind.
Do you want to talk about the, kind of the planning board procedures manual that I started working on?
Sure. So I'll defer to you and then
All right.
fill in from there. How's that?
So essentially, I've put together a Town of Norfolk, Massachusetts Planning Board Procedures Manual. The intent is for residents, applicants, and planning board members that are new to the board to have a document that kind of breaks down what it is that the planning board does, what kind of provides us that authority, and kind of an understanding of the different roles and other authorities that the planning board interacts with. And so I've provided everybody with a Word document version that you can go ahead and put some edits in there. We can discuss in a future meeting, but very lightweight, light touch kind of approach to this. And definitely just looking for feedback. The intent would be we would eventually put this on the planning board website for public consumption and place to point future board members towards. Anything you want to add?
It's a good idea.
No, I think that's on point. I think we probably, for those that like flow charts, we certainly could, incorporate some of those as well into that as well, as kind of a roadmap.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think there was a comment around having council take a look and just making sure that everything was appropriate from Mass General Law and the Norfolk Town bylaws as well.
Yes.
I think that's a good next step as well. So if you want to put that in front of council, that'd be great.
Do you want us to provide feedback first and then put it in front of council once, so we
Yeah,
don't have to?
that's fine.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, so if you wanted, so between now and next meeting,
Sure.
you could individually send your
No reply at all.
to me, no reply all.
Why are you looking at me?
What's that?
So why are you looking at me when you say
I'm just looking, sorry, I won't look at you, I'll look in the air. I'm not pointing anybody out. And then we can have it, council review it. I just have them take a look at it, just a quick cursory, nothing really jumped out per se. But then let's take a look in terms of the edits.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think this is a good first step towards what they were talking about in the select board meeting yesterday as well, with regards to kind of simplifying the process for everyone. And this is a big portion of it.
Yes. And there will be more to come and overall too.
Yep. As far as the flow chart goes, is that something that you want to take a stab at? You wanted me to start? How do you want to play that?
You a good flowchart person?
So I'm going to tell you, years ago, Bob Bullock had started putting together some flow charts on permitting. I may have one, or a draft of one.
Yeah, that'd be
So-
great. Good starting
Okay.
point, for sure.
There you go. We'll canvas, see what we have. And update it accordingly. Got 2 minutes.
1 minute.
1 minute?
1 minute, 60 seconds. Anybody have any good jokes?
I haven't polished my stand-up routine yet, but I can give it a go.
All right, go ahead. Let's go. 2 minutes.
Yeah, but this is like recorded, and I gotta try to keep my job.
That
And
might affect your
My
future
jokes are
career.
just-
Stand up?
yeah,
All right. Yeah, everybody laughs. I mean,
If it does, you're in trouble.
I guess I will say, online, participation in local town government is very important, something I take very seriously. And I love the fact that we've found a topic that everyone's so interested in that they decided they wanted to show up at one of these meetings. I do implore you, we do this on a monthly basis. Please continue to attend. There's a lot of other fun topics that we discuss on a regular basis as well. So with that being said, we are at time. read us in, please.
All right. Notice is hereby given in accordance with Mass General Law, Section 40A, and the Norfolk zoning bylaws, Section 310-6.11. A public hearing will be held on Tuesday, January 13th, 2026 at 7:15 PM in Room 124 at the Norfolk Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass, regarding a site plan application for property located at 90, 92, 96, 100, and 100 R Pond Street in Norfolk, Massachusetts. The applicant, Next Grid Patriots LLC of Boston, Mass., is proposing a modification of a previously approved site plan and a stormwater management permit for the proposed construction of a large-scale, ground-mounted solar photovoltaic system, including installation of battery storage, equipment pads, electrical service infrastructure, and stormwater management facilities. The property is located in the C1 and C1B zoning districts, reference Assessors Map 19, Block 69, lots 27, 28, 43, 55, 58, and 61. The application and plans are available for public inspection on the Town of Norfolk website or in the office of the Norfolk Planning Board during the hours of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday.
All right, so I did put together an opening statement to just kind of bring everybody up to speed on what's happened prior to us getting to this point. So bear with me, it's a little bit lengthy. I'll do my best to shorten it on the fly. So the purpose of this public hearing is to perform a site plan modification review, during which we, as the board, may address site layout, access, circulation, drainage, and external impacts. This review does not regulate internal equipment design, battery technology, fire suppression systems, or operational safety protocols governed by state or federal authorities. What follows is a background and procedural history of the Pond Street Solar Project. To provide context for the board's deliberations this evening and for the benefit of our audience in person and online. Now, this project represents the redevelopment of a long-standing industrial and environmentally challenged property into a renewable energy facility. The site encompasses approximately 25.85 acres across multiple parcels at 90, 92, 96, 100, and 100 R Pond Street, as well as 12 Sharon Avenue, including land leased from the Norfolk Water Department. Historically, the property operated as an auto salvage yard and required environmental investigation and remediation under Massachusetts contingency plan to address petroleum, hydrocarbons, heavy metals, and other contaminants. In June 2021 town meeting authorized the lease of the town-owned portion of the site. Later that year, at a special town meeting on October 9th, 2021, Article 9 authorized the development of a ground-mounted solar photovoltaic facility on the property. The project was first presented to the Planning Board in December 2021. At that time, the proposal consisted of a 5-megawatt solar array with 2 megawatts of battery energy storage. Early discussions focused on site layout issues within the board's jurisdiction, including visual screening along Route 115, preservation of surrounding woodland, and the establishment of a 50-foot buffer to mitigate impacts to neighboring properties. Following review and refinement, the Planning Board granted site plan approval on April 28, 2022, subject to conditions. Among those conditions was the requirement that an operations and maintenance plan be submitted prior to construction. The approval addressed site access, circulation, drainage, stormwater management, and buffering, consistent with the scope of the site plan review. The project continued through final design and permitting in 2024. On March 12, 2024, the Planning Board approved the final site plan, including waivers and a stormwater permit. These approvals were recorded with the town clerk on March 21, 2024. At that stage, the facility was designed with a capacity of 2,738 AC kilowatts. A previously approved paved emergency access road serving the police station was modified to a gravel road, with the developer providing a $200,000 payment to the town in connection with that change. In late 2025 and early 2026, the applicant returned to the board with several proposed modifications. In December 2025, Next Grid Patriots LLC submitted a request to modify the approved plans following the decision by the radio tower owner to decommission and remove the westerly antenna on the site. The removal created additional usable area, which the applicant before us is proposing to fill with solar modules to improve overall efficiency. Now, during stormwater construction activities, ledge was encountered in the field. As a result, the applicant is proposing to remove subsurface infiltration system number 7P, and in turn increase infiltration basin number 2 to maintain stormwater performance consistent with the approved design intent. Concurrently, the applicant is proposing an increase in overall project capacity to approximately 6.1 megawatts of solar photovoltaic generation and 3 megawatts of battery energy storage. As of the filing of this site plan modification, residents have raised concerns regarding the level of technical detail related to battery energy storage that was included in the original 2021 town meeting materials. Those concerns focus on public safety, chemical fire risk, and groundwater protection, and have prompted requests for additional discussions outside of the traditional site plan framework. As part of the review process in response to the evolving technology and concerns raised, the Norfolk Fire Chief on January 5th, 2026 required that the developer fund an independent third-party technical review of the battery energy storage system due to its complexity. The matter before the board tonight arises from these site plan and stormwater modifications. This hearing is intended to address the modifications within the planning board's jurisdiction under the established site plan review process, consistent with applicable bylaws and state law. All right. Anything in there I got wrong, or
Yes.
please?
How's that? I'll start right off the bat. When you do a drafting error, you don't think it has a life of its own, and I will tell you
Oh,
that
man.
the drafting error from Lincoln Road to this site has a life of its own, and so it was literally a drafting error. And so I just want to clear that up. This
Please,
is
that's
not,
why.
there was not an auto salvage yard for this. That was from Lincoln Road.
That was from Lincoln Road, okay.
So I just want to clarify that, all right, for the record, because I know that's come up, and so let's just,
All right, so for the record, there was not an auto salvage yard.
yes, I think there was one other thing I was going to correct you on, but I'm trying to think. No,
There's no contamination.
no. So that's it for the moment.
All right, perfect, awesome. So do we want to bring the applicant up to discuss the changes they're proposing?
Yes.
Podium?
No, that's a little bit too formal. Hang
Yeah,
out with
if
us
you
at
wanna-
the table.
Sure, you got it.
Just introduce yourself.
So my name is Daniel Serber. I'm the Director of Development with Next
Just a little
Grid
bit
Inc.
closer to the mic.
Sorry, I'm the Development Director with Next Grid Inc. Honestly, the chair's speech is kind of taking me off guard. I kind of wrote an entire speech saying almost the exact same thing. As the chair said, we're here to add a relatively small amount of solar panels into the space that was left available by the decommissioning of the radio tower. The space they have opened up is just over 40,000 square feet, so just under an acre. Part of that is, all that energy is going to be added to the DC portion of the system, which is fed into the existing approved battery storage system to make sure that system continues to operate at its peak. We are proposing, I believe, only 274 kilowatt hour increase in the battery storage system. I have prepared a lot of battery storage information here, and I know it's not in your purview, but I'd like to pre-answer as many questions as I can, and to the chair, is that something you'd like me to do?
So I'll hold off on the battery stuff for now. When that does come up, I will bring Chief Kenny up so that he can be here for it. He's the authority having jurisdiction over that from a safety perspective. I do have some questions just with regards to certain things that we as the board have full control
Sure.
over. I don't know if anybody else has other questions that they want answered, but I'm willing to start shooting.
Yeah, you already mentioned the change in stormwater, and then we are adding additional screening trees. Those are really the biggest changes.
So we're maintaining the 100-foot setback from residential property lines?
Correct.
Throughout the project, okay. And then, so the footprint and placement of the new solar modules is taking up the portion where the antenna was previously, so it's not really impacting
Yeah.
site layout or design.
So there's still a structure there, and if you look at our original plan, you can see 3 big gaps in the solar panels.
Am I on the right page, Dan?
This is the new design, so you can't see the original area, but there was 3 big lines that you could see that were breaking up the solar panels, and that was actually where here.
That one?
Actually, it is here. So those are guy wires that are holding up that big antenna structure, and they're replacing that with a thin pole design, which no longer necessitates those guy wires. So we're able to fill in that area with solar panels.
Okay. And then we're maintaining the same level of visual screening, this Leland cypress or the fencing is provided to mitigate the impacts from public ways and neighbors and all of that stuff, because nothing's been changed to the perimeter.
Right. We are filling in extra trees, so just to make sure no glare were to be able to leave the site.
Okay. And then, I know we've discussed this previously, but there will be a sign that's providing a 24-hour emergency contact number.
Correct.
So as far as equipment placement, we had a pad that was previously located. It's in the same location where you're looking to add the new ones as well?
So there's two equipment containers, two battery storage containers. There's not, the footprint of that shouldn't really be changing. It's not enough to necessitate a third container, but one of those containers will be more full of individual battery cells.
So the footprint for those is staying the same? Okay. I'll wait for that for now. So let's go to the environmental and stormwater management. So the elimination of the subsurface infiltration system 7P due to the ledge, we're looking to use infiltration basin 2 now. How does that impact the site's ability to manage a 100-year storm event?
Yeah, so we use BSC Group to calculate those numbers. Brian Yergation was our engineer. He figured you guys would want to be asking those questions after Beta's review, so he has elected to come to the next hearing, and he's not here. He did just mention that the calculations remain the same within all DEP standards, and it should effectively manage the water. Of course, you'll hear from Beta Group. Richard said that their report should be here before next week's ZBA hearing, so you guys should get that information back from them, and then Brian will be here to get to the bottom of any questions you might have on that.
Okay, so we're good on the Beta side. They haven't requested anything else?
No, correct, right. So everybody does know that next week, next Wednesday, we'll do this again, so to speak, but before the zoning board of appeals, so.
All right, so I'll leave those questions.
So for your
until
next
after
meeting, it's February 10th.
February 10th, yeah. All right, so noise levels. So predicted decibel levels at the property line from the inverters and the BESS cooling fans, that's complying with the Mass DEP noise policy?
Correct.
Okay. The O&M plan clearly defines a responsibility for tasks like snow plowing, vegetation management?
Yep.
Hours of activity. What are the proposed hours for routine maintenance?
So routine maintenance happens only a couple times a year. It's usually on like at 8 to 4 is when the guys show up on site.
Okay. And then, so there has been a surety bond established for this. Has it been updated to include the increase in the solar panels?
Richard is not, right?
No, that'll have to be adjusted.
Okay. And then, so we're going to also have to do that inflation adjustment, and we'll stay at the 2% for the removal costs as well. And then, do we know if that agreement has a grant to the town? Does the agreement grant the town the right to enter and remove the installation if it fails to operate for more than 1 year?
That's what it says in the decommissioning plan.
Okay.
Yeah, it does, yes.
All right, so the rest of the questions that I have are around fire, safety, and access and emergency response. So Chief Kenny, if you want to come up.
Sit here.
All right, so just to reiterate, Chief Kinney, we've talked about the turning radii. Are we still good with the turning radii considering the changes that have been made?
Yes. early on in the original site plan, my request was that we have navigable, drivable surface that would allow us to effectively get an ambulance in there in the case that someone doing maintenance gets injured, or also if there's a ground cover fire where we won't have to stretch hose manually, hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of feet to extinguish it. So that is, the provision for that is in place. The other thing that's important is that we have access to water on the site, and obviously there's a hydrant right at the base of the water tower, so we have water in close proximity. So.
Okay. And then you've confirmed that the gravel access road and gate design are adequate for emergency vehicle entry?
Yes.
And as far as like spacing, there's at least 12 foot of separation between the rows of the solar arrays for brush truck access? Okay. Now, what's the status of the independent technical review that you had requested?
It has not been done yet. There aren't very many people that can do the technical review, so that is something that is ongoing. I have reached out to the state and their fire protection engineers around this, and it's one of the things about that make this project a little bit unique, and projects similar to it is the technology that is being used is outpacing code development, and truthfully the code is they just can't keep pace with the development and the advancements in technology. So that's one of the reasons the technical review was requested. It was also strongly recommended by DFS to do that. It is going to be something that DFS advised that will be included whenever the new comprehensive fire code is drafted, that it will be actually mandatory for projects that meet a certain threshold, which this one would, to be independently technically reviewed, in part because the technology is outpacing the code development. So that is why, I requested the independent third-party review. I believe that puts us in the best position to make sure that everything is in place, to take care of the potential hazards that or mitigation needs on the site in the case of an emergency.
Okay, thank you. And then has the developer provided you with a required electrical schematic and site plan to finalize the project-specific ERP, emergency response plan?
So I have reviewed the plans, and one of the reasons, I reached out to the state was to have another set of eyes look at it, to provide another level of expertise. There, from what I have reviewed, all of the gas detection, flame detection, all of those mitigating devices and early warning and detection devices are present, as they should be. And all the documents that I have reviewed also document how the spacing of the batteries and everything are designed to limit the potential for thermal runaway, and to allow effective mitigation if and when there was an issue. The other thing that I've learned through reviewing this is that the chemistry of these batteries that they're proposing, they're a lot more stable and less susceptible to malfunction. Actually, on a large scale, most of these large battery installations, there's been a less than 2% malfunction rate of the hundreds of thousands that are, installed around the world. So it's a very low probability of having a potential issue. The other thing is that the difference, the information that we have will help us develop an emergency plan, as well as the provider or the builder is also going to be assisting with that, creating the plume modeling and things for the town so that we can develop our emergency response plan according to that. And we will also, that third-party review will allow us to, help design a plan around specifically the chemistry and how these batteries are going to be laid out, because that's one of the things I've learned in reviewing this too, is that every battery storage system is not the same. So you can't just have standardized or standard operating procedures, if you will, that would match up to this installment versus that installment, whatever. You have to treat them all independently and differently. So that is some of the information that we would like to, or that we are looking forward to receiving when we are able to select a third-party reviewer. Like I said, I don't think there are not many companies in our area at all that are able to or have the depth or the knowledge to provide that review. And I will be reaching out to our Energy Commission here, or Energy Board here, to get some information and maybe some guidance into companies that can provide that.
Thank you. And for those listening, a couple of the federal laws and standards that we are discussing, or not discussing, but you would be enforcing, would be the NFPA 855, which is the national standard for the installation of stationary energy storage systems. And then the products themselves are UL 9540 and 9540A compliant, which these are safety standards for the system's equipment and rigorous thermal runaway propagation testing. And the project must use equipment certified to these standards. All right, so additionally, from a safety training perspective, does NextGrid as the developer have a plan to provide and fund specialized training for the local first responders in the specific system?
Yes.
All right, aside from additional environmental and stormwater management questions, I do not have anything else. Does anyone on the board have any additional questions that they would like answered at this time?
I've got a few. I am very much looking forward to seeing Beta's report and the third-party assessment that the chief referenced, because I think that, well, we don't necessarily have it within our purview to review the chemistry of the specific batteries. I think in order to say that we're comfortable with the access, with the turnaround, with the emergency access in the road, et cetera, understanding what response to an emergency there, would be, and what comes out of that technical assessment is going to be important for that discussion. I do want to clarify one thing with the developer. So I think, Chris, when you started, you mentioned they were going from 2 to 3 batteries, which is, I think, what I had heard at some point too, but it sounds like, Dan, you're saying that it's still 2 pads?
2 containers.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're not, so compared to the previously approved site plan, you're not adding another pad to the site?
There's two containers, which I believe was what the original design was. But yeah, 2 BYD battery containers.
So the only addition would be the additional inverters.
So no, the inverters are the same. So, but if you imagine a battery container, that's not one battery. That's tons of different cells that are inside that battery. So one of them might have been half full, and now it'll be all full.
Got it.
Okay. When, as far as like when you're looking at the site plan on paper, it's still the same footprint as was in the originally
Yeah, it should
approved
still
site
be the
plan?
same footprint. Yeah.
Okay. I just, from following, going back and reviewing all of the previous meetings, et cetera, I'm a little curious, and if I missed it in the last site plan and this is out of scope, just let me know, but the 50-foot buffer that goes all around, and the tree buffer that was supposed to go along 115, well, I was up at the site today, it's very clear that everything was cleared right up to basically the property border on the road there. When in this process did it change from keeping that buffer of trees to clearing all the way up to the property line?
Yeah, so I think that was in the actual the civil plans showed that how it needed to be graded, and then everything else would be replanted and grow back in.
So as far as it looks like it's going to be maybe stormwater retention or something there, kind of at the bottom of the slope, but then that'll be planted on top of?
So there won't be trees on top of the actual stormwater itself. That'll be grassed, but not treed, yeah.
I'm kind of curious how they would fit in that area, but
So the grading from that position, and are you talking specifically about the part where it looks like
basically
it's
right
touching
here
the
where that
driveway?
where it's like touching the apron on the side of the road.
So we had
yeah.
discussed that apron is going away, right? For the
Yeah, you're
most
talking
part.
about the
Yeah.
curb cut? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be infilled, so there should be plantings there from the,
Okay, and then it'll be planted up into the property line there instead of that setback with the apron.
and then one of the original conditions, which does carry forward, you're not quite to rough grade yet, because you still have to do additional work, is to go doing a site assessment in terms of the screening, and then what's proposed to see if additional screening is needed.
Okay.
That was to be done at rough grade.
And from the street, in that position looking up, I forget, but I think it was between 17 to 20 feet to the base of where the solar panels were going to be.
Where the trees would end from the street all the way to the base of the solar panels?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so it's gonna be roughly 20 feet away, but you can see how it's sloped.
Yep.
So, once you see the final grade, it should be easy to see where that line ends, because then it heads up the hill, and then that's where the panels start.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously it looks pretty drastic out there now, but I recognize that that's post demolition and not including construction and landscaping. So, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out from there. I had one more, but, when, maybe, Rich, this might be a question for you. When Beta is doing their review, are they able to review the conditions of the site plan approved to date and let us know out of anything that was put that should have been done up until this date has been complete?
Yeah, in terms of like an interim assessment.
Like interim pre-construction requirements, et cetera.
Sure.
I think before we approve an update to the site plan, I want to make sure that everything that's supposed to have been done to date has been done and those conditions have been.
We can definitely have that.
How
Yeah,
many
that's a good
Beta's
call.
been to the site?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 14 times, so they have reports from every time they visited. They should be able to break that down.
Yeah,
for you.
don't doubt it, but, we'll want to make sure you guys have done.
We can have
what
them
you're supposed to
report
do
on
to
that.
date. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, there's a lot of information we need and we're waiting on. Certainly, it's a lot to digest and, for Beta and finding a third-party technical assessment to be done. Looking forward to reviewing all of that, and I think there will be a lot of questions from there, too.
Any other questions from the board?
I have one. Point of clarification. So the operations and maintenance plan, I know that there have been several versions of them. We have hundreds of pages of documents from you guys. One of the versions of the O&M plan didn't include any information about batteries, and it could just be that it's outdated, but I just want to make sure that the batteries and how they'll be maintained will be included in that. And also, whoever chief finds to review everything may want to take a quick look over that as well, to have everything done all at once.
Sure. So there's an operations and
It's a little louder because
These migrophones aren't meant for a lift, so yeah, we've got
sure.
to talk a little bit louder.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not very loud.
yeah, none of us can hear anything.
Oh.
And this is
Yeah, so there's the operation and maintenance plan, and then we've also provided the chief with a very robust health and safety emergency response plan for the battery that does also include operations and maintenance and the long-term taking care of the batteries. So
Great.
we can combine those docs if it's more convenient, or
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's more convenient, just making sure that we have both of them would be great.
Okay.
We'll end up merging them together anyway in some way, I'm sure.
Just a couple questions on the battery maintenance. Do the batteries charge and discharge every day? Do you consider it a charge and discharge every daily cycle?
so they don't cycle every day necessarily. We monitor what the local grid needs, and the utility also has the power to take over our battery in an emergency situation and discharge as needed. That's part of our battery contract. So we look at energy prices when it's needed and when when the grid needs it, and we discharge accordingly. But on a general cycle, yeah, we would just cycle through at night. And that obviously depends.
So many cycles and you would replace them just for safety concern? So many charge-discharge cycles and would you replace the batteries? Is that part of a preventative maintenance program?
So it's based on discharge and what that would do to its ability to fully charge.
Yep.
I don't think there's necessarily a safety concern with this chemistry of battery based on how many times it's discharged.
What's the chemistry?
Yeah, let me get the exact word for it. It's
Lithium ion.
Yeah. Phosphate,
Lithium-ion
yep.
cells?
Phosphate.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, lithium-ion factories have exploded in the past, and it just had to do with thermal runaway conditions. And the way they used to charge them was plate on top of plate, massive, just stacked them to the ceiling. It happened to Sony. And thermal runaway, they shoot like Roman candles. I would have asked if you had anything, what type of fire suppression do you have? Because halon didn't seem to work. They were producing their own oxygen at the time to stay burning.
Yeah, so I was going to go through this whole,
Okay,
this piece that has
these are
that,
just
but I
random
can-
questions
I
just
can,
to get me thinking.
see the exact.
So I do want to be careful.
You don't want to talk
It's
too
not
much.
necessarily something that we have from an authority perspective to opine. This is more on Chief
Yep.
Kinney's side, and he's already asked for a technical analysis of this.
Okay,
So feel free to share if you feel.
then I'm fine.
I mean, I'll leave that to you, the chair. I have a lot of information that I want to read, and I generally prefer to be more,
Transparent.
well, not, I definitely prefer to be more transparent, but generally when I come to these things, I like more of a back and forth that's more natural, but for this specific occurrence, based on everybody's curiosity in this matter, I'd like to just more read off of
Sure.
what experts have provided and third-party studies and what the battery manufacturers provided. So I've kind of broken that down. It's not necessarily short. I have 7 pages of information, but I wouldn't mind reading it. But if it's not in your purview or you'd want to wait till a later time, I can wait. But
Up to you, Chief.
No, I'm happy to hear it. I do want to share that the 2 containers that they are proposing do have...
Just speak up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. The containers they are proposing do have basically what amounts to similar to a standpipe system. Obviously, we're not opening the containers, but they have a connection for us to pump into and basically fill the container. The other thing that I've been working on is some research into a environmentally safe and environmentally friendly water additive called F500, which has recently been rated by UL to handle Class D fires and battery or lithium-ion battery in particular fires. And it works on a molecular level more than just, primarily we use water for cooling of fires, right? So you have foam for either vapor suppression or oxygen exclusion. Clean agents use oxygen exclusion. And the issue with these is that they're able to produce their own energy. So with that being the case, the F500 is a micelle encapsulator, and it works on a molecular level and works on all 4 legs of the fire tetrahedron, which will basically stop the chemical chain reaction, even with these, to allow it to mitigate the thermal runaway or prevent it from happening. And that is something that I continue to do some research on. I've actually reached out to that company intentionally for some technical assistance on developing the emergency plans because they have a lot of experience with that. So that is something that is in the works as well. And I'm going to continue to do some more due diligence on the F500 product. I have some experience with before, but never used it specifically just for lithium-ion fires. So I know it's very effective on all other types of fire. I've used it personally before. So I'm excited to see how that development and that research has come about and come along. So
And so what you've described is the fourth stage of fire safety measure that would happen due to the design of these batteries. The first being the off-gassing mitigation, which would happen, vents would open in the unit if the sensors detected any gas. Second being a dry fire suppression, which would be a powdered-like instance that would be sprayed out of 124 nozzles that are located in each one of these containers. Third to that would be a remote suppression via water that would flood the systems.
And possibly, I'm thinking about the F500 has to be proportioned at a 3% rate with water, and that makes it effective.
Now this would be prior to the fire department coming on site. This is a remotely.
So we would use the F500 not prior. That would be when we got there.
Right. So that would be at the fourth if you fully need to submerge the units.
From what I've read and what's contained in the containers, like you already alluded to, there's gas detection, flame detection, there's automatic ventilation, that if there's a presence of any gas buildup, they'll automatically ventilate. So there's a lot of mitigation built into the actual containers themselves, and even down to the spacing of the batteries in the cells. They are spaced based on limiting thermal runaway. So if you did have one battery cell be compromised, the likelihood of it expanding or growing to the additional cells is greatly reduced by the way they are spacing them within the arrangement of the batteries. So those provisions are there, and you probably have some of that information in what you have. Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah. And additionally, during the UL testing for this particular battery, they were unable to make them catastrophically fail even when they were trying to.
Yeah, they could not make these catastrophically fail. They kept
punctured
like
them.
four different battery units, and then it would stop no matter really what they did. And I actually brought the UL reports since there was questions about seeing them, so I'll leave a couple on the table, and if anybody wants to take them home, they are welcome to review the results.
I know some of that testing was rigorous. Some of that testing include like punctures, and I know a lot of the fear around the lithium-ion batteries, a lot of it is, and a lot of what we hear in the media is based in the smaller units. So we have had issues or incidents in town where we've had computer batteries in particular become issue, but the chemical components and the way these batteries are arranged and the way these batteries are engineered is very different. You also don't have random chargers that can be plugged into them that aren't the correct wattage or voltage that cause the issues with the batteries. It's also inside of a big metal container, so the container itself provides a level of protection or a barrier as well to prevent things like punctures or damage as well to the battery. So there's a lot that's built into the actual containers themselves from a safety standpoint and a mitigation standpoint. I think that will provide us a high level of safety. And then, in the event of the catastrophic, which there's a lot that would prevent that from happening, but if it did, we'll have the emergency plan and the plume modeling. And the other thing is, as a final step for us, the F500 potential as well, which should enable us to, instead of having to flow hundreds of thousands of gallons of water or whatever else, it should literally bring that down to less than a third of that to accomplish the same result. So I feel optimistic that with these developments and the mitigating devices and things that are present, that we'll be able to take care of and keep the citizens in this site safe.
Awesome. Any additional questions from the board? Melissa?
So I've talked to numerous residents about, did you want to say something, Chief?
I have to go. We have a house fire.
Oh,
Anybody got any other questions?
Sure, I've got priorities.
Sorry.
thank you, Chief.
I have a bunch of questions, so I'll catch you some other time, I guess.
What I was going to say is I've had a lot of conversations with folks in the community over the past weeks. Most of the questions are about the batteries, and I would imagine pretty much everybody here cares about that. So since we do have Dan here, Dan has 7 pages written, I would love to have folks be able to get their questions answered, although it's not technically a planning board approval. Since we have everybody here and we have Daniel here and he's prepared, why not?
Before I asked you to do that, one thing I did miss was a state regulation that the chief is kind of beholden to, which is 527 CMR 1, the Mass Comprehensive Fire Safety Code, which Chapter 52 specifically regulates BESS safety and authorizes the chief to require that independent third-party technical review that you've heard about from the project design. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead, read through your document, whatever form that you want. When we do open for questions, if your question has to do with something that's already been entertained through this document, I will ask you to step down and point you to the recording. I don't want to spend time rehashing the same point over and over again. So please make sure you're paying attention. If you cannot hear him, please come forward. We've got chairs in the front. We are not going to stop and ask questions throughout his presentation, and that's it.
Yeah, so the chair and everyone else, I'm going to read this. You guys are definitely going to have public comment. You guys are going to have questions. I don't intend to answer any of the questions directly tonight because I want to make sure I'm answering to the best of not only my ability, but the ability of the other experts I consult with. I'm going to take the best notes I can. I'm going to watch the recording again. They are not closing the public hearing tonight, correct?
We're not allowed to because we are still pending information from Beta.
So I will be back at the next public hearing and I'll answer those questions that are raised if I haven't answered them already. And I'm also available. I'm not hiding from anyone. If anyone wants to reach out to me directly, I welcome it and I can provide any of the documents that I'm going to reference. I brought some paper copies tonight. Those are going to be, I'll put them on the back table before I leave and I'll stick around for a few minutes after this if anyone wants to speak with me. So I'm just going to get to it. So I had a whole introduction. I'm going to skip through that, so this might just kind of start pretty fast here. But I'm starting to talk about some independent research regarding the specific battery cell that we're using. So the U.S. Department of Energy's National Laboratory has examined thermal runaway risk and found it extremely low. Sandia National Laboratory states that the risk of thermal runaway is quite low, especially when speaking about a single cell. The odds of a single cell hitting thermal runaway, the specific type of cell that we're using, is 1/10 10,000th of 1%. 1/10,000th of 1% is the odds of thermal runaway in a single cell. It does go on to explain that the more cells you have together, increases that possibility of thermal runaway. But when you're talking about the size of battery storage, we're about 2 megawatts. The ones that they're installing now are like 1 million megawatts, so a gigawatt is what they're installing all over the country. So when you're talking about scaling and how that increases the odds of thermal runaway, this size of this is not really a significant size battery when you're talking about these huge numbers. So safety starts with chemistry. We do use lithium iron phosphate. Not all lithium batteries are the same. We are using the BYD Cube Pro system. And that uses lithium iron phosphate battery chemistry, which is widely regarded as one of the safest and most stable lithium ion chemistries available for stationary energy storage. LFP batteries exhibit lower heat generation and slower reaction kinetics during abnormal conditions. Even in the highly unlikely event of cell failure, the amount of energy released is significantly lower, resulting in slower temperature rise and providing additional time for detection, system response, and intervention. This behavior greatly reduces the risk of rapid escalation and limits the potential for thermal runaway to propagate to neighboring cells. Because LFP cells do not contribute oxygen to a fire and release less stored energy during failure, any resulting event is more predictable, easier to manage through containment, ventilation, and cooling systems. For these reasons, LFP chemistry is widely selected for large-scale and community solar and community-adjacent energy storage applications where safety, controllability, and risk mitigation are paramount. The layered safety engineering to prevent, detect, and isolate. The BYD Cube Pro system is engineered as a triple containment and protection system specifically designed to confine heat, energy, and byproducts within the system and prevent escalation beyond the battery enclosure. The primary containment at the cell level, each battery cell is hermetically sealed within a rigid casing, preventing the release of electrolyte or gases during normal operation. It is in the unlikely event of abnormal internal conditions, the cell incorporates controlled pressure relief, allowing energy and gases to be released in a managed manner rather than catastrophically. Second containment is at the module and the pack level. Sealed cells are installed within enclosed battery modules and packs that provide additional layers of structural reinforcement, electrical isolation, and thermal buffering. These assemblies are designed to limit heat transfer, restrict propagation between cells, and localize the internal event to the smallest possible area of the system. Containment at the enclosure level. All battery modules are housed within a steel IP55 rated container which serves as the final protective barrier. This enclosure resists water intrusion, dust ingress, and external impacts while also containing heat, smoke, and gas within a controlled volume. Integrated ventilation detection and pressure relief features ensure that any internal event is managed safely without compromising the enclosure of the surrounding environment. Together, these three layers of containment work as an integrated safety system that provides confines and manages abnormal conditions at their source. By containing potential hazards at the cell, module, and enclosure level, the BYD Cube Pro design limits heat, gases, and energy to the smallest possible volume, prevents escalation beyond the system boundary, and protects first responders, nearby structures, and the surrounding community. This layered containment strategy reflects modern best practices for battery energy storage safety and is consistent with nationally recognized testing standards and fire codes. I have a few more pages. I apologize for this being so dry, but I want to get through it. Detection, alarming, and ventilation controls. In addition to the robust physical containment, the system incorporates multiple active and passive safety controls designed to continuously manage operating conditions, detect abnormalities at the earliest stage, and automatically place the system into a safe state when necessary. Liquid cooling and thermal management systems actively regulate battery temperature, maintaining cells within a narrow manufacturer-defined operating range during charging and discharging. By preventing localized overheating and maintaining uniform cell temperatures, the cooling system reduces thermal stress on individual cells and significantly lowers the likelihood of conditions that could lead to degradation or failure. A dedicated battery management system provides continuous real-time monitoring of critical parameters, including cell impact temperature, voltage, state of charge, insulation resistance, and system communications. This constant oversight allows the system to identify subtle deviations from normal operating conditions long before they develop into a safety concern. Automated protective responses are built into the system logic. When abnormal conditions are detected, the system can automatically reduce power output, electrically isolate affected battery strings, or initiate a full system shutdown. These graduated responses are designed to stabilize conditions quickly while limiting the scope of any issue to the smallest possible portion of the system. Automatic shutdown on access provides an additional layer of personal protection. If an access door is open during operation, the system immediately shuts down and electrically isolates the batteries. Preventing exposure to energized components and eliminating the risk of accidental contact. Externally accessible emergency stop or e-stop controls allow first responders or operators to rapidly shut down the system without entering the enclosure. This feature ensures that the system can be placed into safe condition quickly and from a safe distance during an emergency or abnormal event. The enclosure is equipped with multi-layer detection and response systems, including smoke detectors, heat detectors, and flammable gas sensors. If flammable gas concentration reaches approximately 25% of the lower explosive limit, the system automatically activates mechanical exhaust ventilation. This ventilation reduces gas concentration well below ignition thresholds before hazardous conditions can develop. The enclosure incorporates pressure relief venting designed to relieve internal pressure and protect structural integrity. So this system was UL tested. The system has been evaluated under UL 954040A, a standardized test method for evaluating thermal runaway behavior. In unit level testing, key findings included no external flaming observed, no damage on adjacent target units, and no damage on target walls. Regarding containment behavior, the report notes no overpressure event observed during the test. Regarding ventilation and gas management, the report explains that when the container reached 24% of lower explosive limit, ventilation activated and reduced gas concentrations back to zero. I'm almost done here, but I do want to mention that we did receive a plume study as requested. That came in today at 4 o'clock. I just have a couple highlights from that. I haven't fully been able to review it. But they ran a thermal runaway scenario at the worst possible scenario. And according to UL testing, it's worse than what is physically possible. As the chief mentioned, no matter what they did, they couldn't get more than 4 units to hit thermal runaway at a time. This is saying the entire system would hit thermal runaway at the same time. They have an upward vent, meaning that all carbon monoxide venting, that's the only hazardous material is carbon monoxide, would be vented through the roof, which is higher than any first responders would be on the ground. And modeled for a worst case scenario, the exceedance zone extends only 25 feet from the exhaust point, meaning that the level of carbon monoxide that would be dangerous is only dangerous for 25 feet from the exhaust point, which is higher than the level of anyone's normal height of any first responders. And since carbon monoxide is lighter than air, it's not going to fall back down to people's levels. Sorry. So just to recap, this is certified under UL 1973 for stationary battery safety, certified under UL 9540 requirements and designed to comply with major codes, including NFPA 855 and the National Electric Code, NFPA 70. Also just wanted to remind everyone there is no batteries on any town-owned land. These are only on privately owned land. And I guess we can call it at that.
All right. With that having been read, any other questions from the board before I open it up for public comment?
None.
I already know some of them in the crowd, so I don't want to steal their thunder.
All right, so this is how we're going to play it.
Perfect
Again, if you're asking a question that's already been answered, I'm going to ask you to step back and step down.
Do you want me to go back to my seat?
No, you can stay there because I feel like some of these you might need to answer. Some of them you might need to say, I will take that back for advisement and come back. I think you're in a better position there.
Just pass the mic, right?
Pass the mic, yeah.
Pass the mic, Rich. I'm asking that we limit each person to one question. If you have a further follow-up question and no one else has any questions, then you can go ahead and take the mic again.
Want to be first?
I'll be first.
Wow. Okay.
Karen Riley, 7 Crestbrook. Thank you so much for your in-depth technical background on the batteries. Do we have any reports on how many sites these batteries are installed at across the U.S. and how long they've been in operation? And any safety reports?
Yeah. Again, this is one of those numbers where I think I might know, but I'm going to verify that and answer that question. So,
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you.
So I get one question.
You get one question right now. Okay?
It
I want to
will-
make sure everybody has a chance. This meeting has to end before midnight, okay?
About 11:30.
That's fine,
Okay.
I've got 4 kids at home.
Yeah,
I'd like to say goodnight.
I got commitments at home, too. I could be watching Star
We've
Trek
also
right
got
now.
February's meeting.
And Star Trek is a good episode tonight. But I came here, Chris. My first question is, after reading 400 pages of documents, and this relates to the contract.
First, introduce yourself.
Jack Oliveri, 4 Barrel Place.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay. The first question has to do with, page here. Okay, the BYD battery.
Speak into the microphone.
Yeah, the BYD battery. Reading from this document. This is paragraph 2.8.2 of the lease agreement, which says, quote, except as explicitly permitted by applicable federal or state permits, the tenant shall not discharge, leak, or emit, or permit to be discharged, leaked, or emitted any material without limitation, any hazardous substances into the air, the ground, the sewer system, or any body of water. That's the contract we signed with NextGrid. On the information you just sent us, the file called Solar Pro Mod Merge Documents, the 390-page document, it says in the BYD battery, the Cube Pro contains combustible fuels, ignition sources, and sufficient oxygen to result in the propagation of fire. Fire and other sources of extreme heat, if not mitigated, can lead to battery cascading, thermal runaway. These combustible gases, if present in sufficient density, pose a risk of explosion. And it says that these chemicals, including the battery electrolyte, lead acid battery electrolyte, R410 refrigerant, and ethylene glycol, which is basically antifreeze, these chemicals can be hazardous to both health and environment. And it says in a bunch of places there's going to be venting into the atmosphere. That's in direct contradiction to the contract we signed in the lease agreement. And it doesn't just say on the leased land, it's the leased land or the land above it. So my question is, how do you reconcile those two things?
So I'm going to say that this board has nothing to do with the lease agreement that was signed.
Who does? Yeah, who does?
Rich, that would be the select board or the
I
water
asked the select
department?
board last night about this, and they punted it to you.
They did.
They said, ask the planning board.
They
We
said
don't wanna
ask
talk-
your questions about the project, yes.
We don't want to talk about this. I tried last night. They didn't want to hear it. They did not want to hear it. And they kept
Unfortunately,
saying-
we do not sign
Melissa was
leases.
on.
We do not execute leases on behalf of the town.
I understand, I get that. But there's something here. It's in direct conflict. What the town of Norfolk has contracted for and what we're getting, two different things. Not an agreement. So that's my first question.
I hear you and I understand your frustration. Unfortunately, it's not something that we manage or deal with.
But who does?
That would be whoever's name's on the lease agreement.
That is this Board of Selectmen. So maybe you could talk to the Board of Selectmen, because we've been unsuccessful in doing that, and they won't listen to us. Maybe they'll listen to you.
So, Rich, I think it's a town administrator question, right?
We have one.
We've got a new one as of January 20th. We have an interim for the time being, and we've had
we
a
have a new
previous
one.
one who was responsible for this.
27th, he starts the 27th.
20th.
20th.
It's the 20th?
20.
Yeah.
Told me last night it was 27th.
We just saved you a couple days.
Oh.
Regarding the other portion of that question, I'll allow you to answer it if you have something.
I can answer it better in the future. I just want to remind everyone that there are no equipment pads, no batteries, no inverters on town-owned land. This is all, everything we're talking about is on privately owned land.
Right, but the language doesn't say just leased, it says leased
Well, we've
and
only
on the
leased a
land.
portion of that land.
I get that, and I understand why it's on privately owned land. But this says, I read you the verbatim, It doesn't say just leased land. It says leased land or other property.
So I'm going to put a stop to the line of the questioning. I am not town council, nor is
I
town
know,
council present, so we cannot sit here and arbitrate the language presented to us at this moment.
Okay, so what's the resolution? Are you going to?
The resolution is we're moving on to the next person in the audience who has a question, and then if nobody else has any questions, we will circle back to you.
So is Rich going to talk to the town administrator? Is that
That was
what I
the
heard?
request that I made, yes.
Okay.
I'll fulfill that request.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you'll get back to me.
Who else has a question?
I do.
All right.
So Kathy Brown. So I have a question. So how does this benefit our town? Like, it benefits you, obviously, because it's your solar. How many solar things anyway, by the way, are you building? That's two questions, but I'm curious. Solar panels.
Yeah, so it's 6 megawatts DC, 2.75 AC.
But how many little square things are going to be on a piece of land?
I can try to do a quick calculation on how many
Oh,
batteries.
it just looks like a lot.
So I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
put a stop to that line of questioning. That answer is available via the previous site plan review process. You can look at the documentation on the
Okay.
town.
So how
Norfolk
does this
website.
benefit us? This whole thing? Do we get a kickback? Do we get any free electricity?
Yeah,
Like-
so the town has a pilot agreement with us, a payment in lieu of taxes. Additionally, on the town-owned land where there is no battery or equipment pads, we are paying the town lease money. Additionally, we gave the town $200,000 extra dollars. So this all goes, so you don't have to get your taxes raised. This is also,
Yeah, right.
our taxes raised less. Additionally, this is a community solar project, so when it's built, you could subscribe to it and get it's a modest discount per kilowatt hour on your bills.
And you guys are paying for everything, like, what if there's an emergency? What if there was a fire? Do you guys have these insured? Do
Yeah,
our taxes
absolutely.
insure
No.
them?
No, this is nothing, this is a private facility. The only town involvement in terms of ownership is we're leasing a portion of the land that's by where the water tower is, and we're just paying lease money like we would to anyone else. So the town isn't providing any additional special services or anything like that.
All right, to be fair, you've had a couple of questions. I'm going to go back to Jack on this one.
Can I just ask a follow-up
Use the microphone. You're welcome.
when you get a
You'll
chance?
get it next.
Larry Clark, Seacon Street. This is to the chief. How much equipment is the town going to have to purchase to make sure that they're in a position if there is a catastrophic event? You know, does the town have that equipment now, or is there going to be an additional expense to the taxpayers to have that equipment in a monstrosity of a firehouse?
So we have the necessary apparatus, if you will, because in the event there is something catastrophic, we're going to be relying on mutual aid like we already do for our responses. So there isn't a large piece of equipment or anything that has to be purchased. The F500 I was talking about is it can be bought in 5-gallon pails or in volume, and it's about $300 for a 5-gallon pail, something like that. Just to put that in perspective, it could be a few $1,000s, but it won't be like an astronomical cost, no. And the majority of the mitigation and work that will be done in the case of a catastrophic is we're not going to open the container. We'll probably flood it and kind of with the F500, and that would take care of it. The F500 is, I think, a key component. We already have nozzles, we already have foam systems, proportioning systems, everything other than that. So we just need the actual additive itself would be the only thing that we would have to add or purchase. There is a special type of, it's not really a fire extinguisher, it's a coating that I was going to recommend to the to the company, whereby if there is a ground cover fire, we can coat the affected solar panels and completely de-energize them. It doesn't damage them, and once we are done with our part, it can be peeled off with no damage to the cell, but it just renders it inert and it won't produce any energy while we're working around it. So that was something I was going to recommend, which is also in the same ballpark. So there isn't a massive expense from a fire department perspective. And I think the other positive is the F500 would be an enhancement to the foams we already use. So we could strategically replace what we're currently using with F500, which the F500 can be used on everything else we use foam for, but it's actually more environmentally safe. So that's something that, we're going to look at.
We use this foam on my
tactically.
kids. Huh? What are you saying? We use this foam on my kids.
The foam we use on your kids is Dawn dish soap.
All right.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Jack, if you'd like to ask an additional question before we move to the next one, please.
Yeah, you mentioned...
Hold on. Get the microphone for the audience.
Oh. You mentioned the certifications that were done in the testing, and the one I saw was UL, and they specifically said it's not UL approved. And then TUV did another test on it too, right? There's test data from TUV, and after forcing this, after 5 hours, they got smoke coming out of one of these batteries. So my question is about UN 38.3. Do you have that approval?
I had the approvals here. UN?
UN 38.3.
I didn't bring any response, but I'll look that up.
Okay, that's called transportation testing. It's required by the United States. It's part of a UN manual of tests, and you can't transport lithium-ion batteries without that approval, 38.3. It can't be moved because...
All right, I'm going to say that one's irrelevant because we're not dealing with the movement of these batteries. That's
Well, they got to
not our
move them to
business.
get them
It's
here.
their responsibility to make sure that they're...
Well, that's what I'm asking. I just want to make sure,
Right.
that you're doing it. And it's got to have regulatory compliance by the DOT, Department of Transportation.
Yep, that's
and
on
the
them to
FAA.
take care of and them to worry
So
about.
I'd like to know if you have that yet.
Well, we get these delivered directly from the manufacturer. I'm assuming they do, but I'm going to check on that, and I'll
They gotta
answer
get
when
here,
I
right?
come back. Yep.
And they got to get to you, so that's my second question.
Yep. All right. Oh, she was next. She was, and then you.
Thank you. I'm Sue Sharkey on North Street. My question is, I saw somewhere that this was an unmanned station, and you said you were going to monitor it. Can you tell me where the monitoring is done, and if you have an emergency response team, how long does it take to get to it?
Yeah, so we have contracted a group that's professional battery and solar monitoring and emergency response company. I can get all their specific information. Their information's also going to be available on signs in the system. And they said they have a 30-minute response time for any place in Massachusetts. I'll get the specific distance for here in the Norfolk area.
Okay, and we keep talking about fire hazards within the batteries themselves, but what about an external fire that then comes into that area? In the case of an external fire, does that change the dynamics for the batteries, or are you confident, like the metal casing you said, that would protect it?
I'm pretty confident. If you all look at the documents, or if you have the opportunity to look at them, there are several layers of protection. The last one being the steel metal box, which is IP rated, so it's going to be resistant to intrusion of any kind, including heat. There's also a cooling system within the battery container itself that will activate. So the likelihood of an external ground fire creating a problem for the actual batteries, or the batteries which are enclosed and on a concrete pad, is very, very, very unlikely.
Yep. And just to kind of add one more thing to what you're saying. So when we're talking about monitoring, there is somebody, a human being, monitoring these, but there's also a lot of internal fail-safes that are monitoring, that are electronic, that if it catches any discrepancy in heat, it's just going to shut the whole thing down, and it won't be able to turn back on until someone goes and takes a look and finds out why that happened and makes that change. So it's,
I would assume you said emergency response, if your system shuts down because there has been some sort
Sure,
of failure.
yeah, so it's not like, oh, I see something's wrong, some human has to actually go individually shut it down, it's just
Right.
out.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to imagine that it's within the company's best interest that if there is a small problem, they'd rather shut things down to make sure that it doesn't become a larger, more expensive problem
Yeah,
down the road.
the heat tolerance where it would shut down is so narrow, it'll just shut down.
Right, because
yeah.
the ROI on these are pretty slim to begin with, and in order to make your money back, you have to make sure that everything's safe and compliant moving forward.
There's a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, sir.
Hi, Manny Sakara, Kingsbury Road. I have a question about the battery chemistry, swapping it out, and a follow-up to the fire, if that's okay. Maybe I'll hit the fire first because it's relevant right now. In the event of a catastrophic failure, fire department comes out, we'll say it's a multi-hour, maybe a multi-day event, I don't know. Is there a reimbursement clause or something to the town of Norfolk for these resources that we'll have to expend to take care of this situation?
There's nothing in the conditions from the original site plan review special permit approval that requires us to do that, and if there's something in the town bylaw, I'm not aware.
And you mentioned the emergency response team that you have. Once they're there, they're going to stay for the duration?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then the battery chemistry question is, we're talking about one chemistry, however, you guys might switch that out or something like that. What is the procedure for changing that to a different chemistry later, a different type of battery?
I haven't contemplated that happening. I'm assuming we'd have to come back to the board, and if the board
That would
wants
be
to condition
another
that.
trigger for another site plan modification review, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
To answer your question on the reimbursement, I know he won't like to hear this, but in the event of a hazardous incident and it was a catastrophic failure or some kind of fail-safe didn't work, we actually have provision through state law to bill. So for example, like right now, I know you all are aware, we've had some catastrophic failures of propane tanks or things like that, and we have to call out emergency response or whatever. We bill the responsible party for that. Same thing with like oil burner tank or your oil tank. If it fails, somebody's getting a bill for that response. So there will be a bill for the response if it's deemed necessary, yes. So yes.
So can you speak a little bit more about those kinds of failures? Those are occurring on personal property.
Yes, we've had a landscaper hit the head of a propane tank, and it had to be
At a commercial or residential property?
residential. It was in oh gosh. Now I've been hitting the head a lot in my previous career. River's Edge. It was at River's Edge. So at River's Edge, we've had a landscaper hit the head of a propane tank. We had to off-gas it, put up the Christmas tree. We were there for several hours, and we were able to build a company for the duration of that call. We've had some oil tanks fail, and when they fail and we have to respond, and we were able to bill the responsible party for that. So, you know, if something like that did happen, and it was, you know, there is a mechanism for us to bill. Now, obviously, if it's purely accidental, we're not billing. But if it was some kind of failure of some type or carelessness on the part of the company, then yes, we will bill.
I was thinking of like a substantial event where you guys were out there for days.
Yeah.
Now what? Right.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, which is why the company carries an insurance policy and umbrella policy as well. Yeah. Hold on, I got one in the back. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Teresa Fernald, Fruit Street. First off, let me just say thank you very much for coming and answering questions. Having questions answered has been very difficult as of late, and I do appreciate it, and I appreciate the board. I know that you're volunteers and that you take time out of your day for this. So I do want to say that those of us who are asking questions are not doing it in us versus you type of way. We are really genuinely concerned for the things that are happening in our town. We're very genuinely concerned about our lack of procedure. We're also genuinely concerned that we came to the warrant and voted for solar on, I believe it was December of 2021, and somehow it has morphed into this and had even though we had been watching the site plans, there was never any mention, not once, of batteries on it at any time up until, I have not seen these, but I'm hoping batteries are actually labeled on this one. But that's not my actual question. My question is, we keep talking about, there could be a catastrophic failure, there could be a catastrophic failure. We live in a very different world right now, where just recently on the news, the Littleton Water and Sewer Department, they just had a news report on it that they had lost all control over their water and sewer department. I happened to work for a hospital for 24 years. I know of multiple hospitals and municipalities who were actually hacked and taken over, some simultaneously, universities and whatnot. We're talking about monitoring these systems. I'm assuming that it's not on site, because I heard you say that. So we'll be doing a lot of this by computer. So we don't just have to take into consideration that there could be a battery that has an issue. We unfortunately live in the world where we can be compromised. Our town can be held hostage to something like that. But I do want to mention that there were just 3 recent fires at a battery storage facility unit in Warwick, New York. It has now been condemned, and they are banned from ever doing that again. And with that, they actually had to evacuate the town. I just want to state for the record that we have 2 sports fields that are really located very close to this facility. And this one, I don't think anyone's ever thought of. We have a prison that, as the crow flies, is less than 2 miles from this facility. And the last time that they worked up numbers to evacuate a prison, it cost over $1 million. I don't know where those funds would come from. Even if they're not town funds, they're still our funds. We still pay taxes in this state. We also have Gillette Stadium that is just under 3 miles away. And just today on the news, they talked about enhanced security because there were multiple and significant security risks for Gillette Stadium because FIFA's coming. Now, I know FIFA is just this summer. We have events that happen there year-round. We have football in the fall and winter. We have concerts. We have monster trucks. And the other one I don't think anyone has thought about is the Rentham Developmental Center is just 3 miles away from there. And if you ever had to evacuate that facility, that would be an incredibly complex evacuation, as most of those patients there have multiple comorbidities and there's all kinds of issues there. So this isn't just a simple, let's throw some, solar and some battery in the fields. We are a community. There are people who live here. Our children play on those fields. We have a 65,000 seat stadium. Don't quote me to 65,000. I believe it's close to that. 66,000. We have a Rentham Developmental Center. And I just want to state for the record, we have no hospital. We live in a hospital desert. There is no hospital anywhere near us. The closest one is 25 minutes away. These are significant issues. The fire that went in Warwick lasted for 3 days and required an evacuation. There has been 3 fires at battery storage facility units since December. We're only on January 13th, and there's been 3 in a month and a half.
I'm going to ask that you start wrapping up to give others a chance, please.
Oh, sure. This isn't important at all. Thank you.
It's important. There's a lot of people in the room, and I want to be fair.
Well, I mean, it's very, very relevant, and I actually didn't get any of it answered. So we'll have to do.
Get to a question. You made several statements after another.
We'll have to do
if you have
an
a question,
evacuation
please ask the
plan
question.
To do all of those things, have any of those facilities been contacted? Is this another? There's been a lot of. These will be costs that our town will incur.
So what's the question? Have the other facilities been contacted?
I'm assuming there's no plans in place in case someone gets hacked, because how could you? This is a real.
We can't sit here to debate their cybersecurity policies,
no,
unfortunately.
but I'm saying this is a real and true threat of something we have never actually voted on in this town. We only voted for solar. This is now here. We also had a site plan that never included batteries, unless this one does. Not once has batteries ever been labeled anywhere, so the community has not been aware of this until recently, and we've been trying to get questions answered.
So, Rich, as part of the building permit process, would the batteries not have been subject to review?
The batteries would be, yes.
Okay.
Who reviewed them?
Hold on. Mr. Diamond, if it's okay, can I ask you to come off mute?
He would have reviewed the electrical permit, but David's on as well.
Or David, or someone who's part of the building department who would have had a purview over the batteries for this plan back in 2024?
Good evening, everybody. My name is David Glukowski. I'm the acting building commissioner and zoning enforcement officer. The plans submitted by the contractor would be reviewed by both myself and Peter Diamond. Peter Diamond is our inspector of wiring. Peter and I review rooftop solars all throughout Norfolk on day in, day out basis. We review the ones that include the battery backup systems as well. So this would be something that will be on Peter's direct review.
Thank you. Peter, without trying to point fingers, but would this have been something that you had reviewed at that point in time?
Yes, through the chair, we did review this back when the permits came in.
Okay, and then so
during discussion tonight that there appears to be a battery manufacturer change. The original plans we received had a battery manufacturer called Risen, SYL Batteries, and now the gentleman here spoke to BYD batteries being used. So the plans we reviewed at permitting are probably different from the plans that we have yet to receive. And that would be one thing I would ask for here, is for a full set of plans on the project, including all the modification, equipment changes and so forth, the infilled area where the additional solar modules are going to go. The original plan had 8,658 modules, and not quite sure how many modules will be added to infill this over acre plus area. So there will have to be another review by both David and myself for the changes
flip it over to mine.
that are going on here in front of you.
yes, and that would be part of the site plan review modification process. Rich will make sure that that information gets to the appropriate boards that are part of this process. Additionally, to your point, Peter, I just want to state for the record and for all those in attendance, that department is the authority having jurisdiction over the batteries. The batteries would have been included in a plan in some way, shape, or form. It was not the responsibility of us to approve the batteries in that location.
The plan that's on that screen shows the batteries on it from 20,
Can I ask Peter a question?
the location
Nope.
of the batteries.
That must be the newest one?
No.
No.
That's the original one.
That's
These
the
are the
original
original
plan.
plans dated September 22nd, 2021, which were presented at the town meeting.
Were those lithium batteries in 2021?
Yes. But they were a different make and manufacturer, which is also another reason why this has been triggered as a site plan modification.
Speaking just a little bit to process, for me, for example, I see these plans multiple times. So the site plan portion, which I think the planning board has spoken to, is accessibility, making sure it meets zoning bylaws and those kind of things. For me, I'm looking at water, accessibility. What if there's an emergency? Do I have, routes in and out? There are, part of the comprehensive fire code does have stipulations on what that needs to be. So when I approve a site plan, I'm not going into the weeds of the composition of batteries or anything else. It's just the site, and is the site accessible, and does it provide me access in the case of an emergency, right? So that's all I'm really hardcore looking at the site plan portion. When it gets to permitting, and before they put a shovel in the ground, that's when I review in detail, things like the suppression system or their alarm system or all of those. And then there's several NFPA codes that come into play, as well as a comprehensive fire code, that I will have to reference and refer to before offering approval on the actual batteries and the battery storage system itself. So I don't generally get into that depth until the permitting part, or when they're almost ready to break ground, like where we have to really thoroughly review and look at those components. It's the same with residential. If one of you were to want to build a house or a building, I probably get the site plan up to a year before you even break ground. And I will approve that based on the accessibility and if it meets the codes. So, but I don't get into the weeds of where your smoke detectors need to be or how many square feet your house is and that kind of stuff until we get to that permitting piece and I get those parts of the details available to me. So just speaking to that process, the site plan review part doesn't cover or get into the weeds of structure and some of those components as like the permitting piece and the thorough review that David and Peter and myself would be doing, or my deputy.
Yeah, and just to reiterate for the planning board, our scope is physical site layout, external equipment characteristics, access and circulation, visual and noise impacts, stormwater design. Out of scope for us would be internal equipment design, such as battery chemistry selection and internal fire suppression technology. We are also out of scope for any OSHA compliance or employee training programs.
Chair, may I just address a couple things?
Yeah.
I just want to also say that in our RFP response, the one that was accepted by the town and reviewed, the first line says a solar and battery storage system. So this was from the very, very beginning, from before town meeting from 2020, this always included battery storage, and I've reviewed, and it's on every single rendition of the plan and every piece of material that we've ever presented to the town and the residents. And we've been to the planning board and ZBA 14 times. So this is my 15th time here. And battery storage has always been a part of the project. I can also safely say that there is no event that could possibly happen with this size and this specific battery that would require evacuations of any facility, let alone facilities at the distance you're talking about. When we talk about catastrophic failure or thermal runaway, we're not talking about massive fires or explosions. We're talking about the batteries getting hot enough to turn off, and turn on the vents. And maybe the batteries having to be replaced. The odds of any fire ignition are extremely low, but I think the chief would agree that nothing that could happen here is going to result in an event that would need a town to be evacuated. It's just not the type of system it is. And I will research Warwick, New York, and the size of their battery storage system and whatever this event was. And I can definitely come back and say what I believe the differences are. And I do also have those UL testing materials that can show what the worst case scenario would be, because that's what they did, was they made it get to worst case scenario, and then they reported on those results. And you're welcome, either digitally if you want me to email them to you, or have it here. And I appreciate it's been hard for you to get information. As open a developer as you'll ever meet. I've given every single resident that's asked for my personal phone number and email, and I've never not answered a resident, and I've been doing this for 12 years. And, I don't shy away from providing information. So, if you're not getting specific battery information from people that probably don't know, you're free to always contact me.
Will any of this
Hold on.
affect my
Hold on.
water?
You've got to be with a microphone. You've got to introduce yourself. You've got to let me get to you first. There was a question around cybersecurity. Your business, as such, has to go through certain things from a cybersecurity perspective, such as an external pen test, probably doing some sort of a SOC 2, T2, or similar. I'm assuming there's a trust center or something like that you can share with the board?
I'm sure I know we have cybersecurity provisions. I don't have specific details on that, but I know if those were ever bypassed, we would be alerted immediately and just go switch the system off. I mean, if we turn off the emergency manual shutoff, no cyber crime could turn that back on. So there's always the good old latch pull. So we would know if the system was compromised and be able to respond physically immediately.
Okay, thank you. All right, you had a question?
She's going to skip it.
No, that's all right.
All right.
Could I ask quickly, while he's taking his next inhale, there is no continuous hazardous discharge. I didn't, right? It's only in emergencies. And I don't know if that's, when you talk about the lease, and it's not my area of expertise, but there's always intent around legal language, and I'm not sure if that's the legal language that's in the lease agreement you're talking about. But specifically, there's no continuous hazardous discharge. It's only in cases of emergencies that would provide some hazardous form of discharge are extremely low. That was the numbers you gave before.
That's correct. And then according to DEP, the system doesn't even contain what they consider hazardous materials at all. So there are no hazardous materials in the battery system. There's no PFAS in the battery system. A thermal overload event would produce carbon monoxide. It's not inherently there. It would be a production by the heat going up, and that would be, again, vented through the roof. And I do have the plume study that I got 4 o'clock today, or I'd have more information, and the chief would have it as well. But it showed from the top vent that the carbon monoxide wouldn't be at hazardous levels after 25 feet, which is a lot lower than any gas station you have in town. So.
All right,
Just
Mr. Beckett.
one, the battery management system, it looks at every cell, not just, it doesn't manage batteries. One cell gets in thermal runaway and it shuts down that cell.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm done.
All right, Mr. Bekanowski.
Andy Bakanowski, Board of Health and Energy Committee. I guess, Chris, if I can take a little bit of latitude and sort of make a bunch of comments. Daniel, I do this too, or used to do it too. I guess the first question I have for you is the sloping around the battery storage shows down gradient. Every single battery project I've worked on, we've had containment. That's a question, why is that not done here? Is it just because of topography or you're hitting bedrock? So that's one question. The other question I have...
So hold on. Is that a question you can answer at this time, or would you like to defer?
Well, in terms of containment, we have triple containment, and we meet all laws. Why it's down gradient, you've only seen the opposite. I'm going to have to get with our civil people, make sure that there's not a reason
yeah,
behind
and I mean, there could be something in the ground that's preventing that.
There's a lot of ledge. We found a lot of ledge.
Well, just so you know what you're sitting on a drum one.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, walking around, we knew there was going to be a lot of rock.
Okay. So, other question is more from my personal curiosity. I know you have an interconnection agreement for the 2 megawatt plus system. What has Eversource conditioned for the larger system and the larger output? For the simple reason is that while there's poles that are being put in as part of the project, having worked on other projects much larger, the largest one I've worked on is 12 megawatts. The National Grid required the developer to put poles half a mile to a mile away, in some cases for safety reasons, whether they were redundant reclosures.
Sure.
So that's something I'm wondering about. And is that something that is part of the plan or has been requested by Eversource? So I guess the question is that have they approved this increased capacity already?
Yeah, so our storage is direct current storage, so DC storage, and our inverters are AC. So we're exporting at the same AC size as we always were. So we cannot export at any one time more power. We can just export at night for a slightly longer period.
Okay, no, that makes sense because I'm just trying to figure out because I know the solar up the street I worked on at the Bird landfill, the impact study was way too long, a year.
Yeah.
So, and you know that's so okay.
Yeah, there's
so no. It's more just for clarification because having read through the contract a couple of times, I mean, there's approvals and notification to the town that certain things are met, such as the SMART program and all that. And I mean, this could be one of those things that sort of creeps up on you. You just don't want to have to explain to somebody.
No, that's an easy one.
Okay.
As far as today went, that's an easy one.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so, and the last thing I have is, and I sent comments to Rich about this, is that the sensitive receptors around this area, I mean, having worked for the Department of Correction, who's right across the street from you, the wetlands are a lot closer than you think. And I know they're within 1,000 feet of the battery storage. So if BSC could do some double checking, don't go on the state property, but just realize that they're a lot closer. The other issue I have is if there's a need for runoff to go and you inundate the infiltration galleries, it's going to go down Sherwood Road or Sherwood Drive. And if you know what's down the end of there, there's the Zone 2 for the prison wells. There is an Army Corps flood storage area, and the geology of this area, having drilled a bunch of wells and dug a lot of holes on state property, there's a highly productive aquifer that actually runs across. It's a finger that literally, it starts, down the street towards Rentham and goes all the way over to the prison property. So that's something that, again, the statements that BSC is making, let's just say they're not complete. I'm not going to say they're wrong. They're not complete. I mean, I know, I've looked at the various GIS maps, and I know the GIS maps are wrong. So. Okay. So that's all I have. So thank you.
Mr. Oliver?
So I'd like to get clarification on a couple things that you mentioned about the carbon monoxide. From your document that you just recently sent us, dated December 2025, on page 343, the testing done by TUV.
Sorry, what page?
Page 343, section 3.6.1. It says that during the testing by TUV, the batteries emitted methane, carbon dioxide, hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen.
Okay.
I'd like to know if that's true, because that's a lot more than just carbon dioxide, and there's some flammable gas in there.
So
Methane, CH4, and hydrogen.
I'll have to verify the document that you're talking about
It's the one you
because
just sent, the 390-page.
So that's the consolidation of the entire
consolidated one,
meeting.
right, exactly.
So this would be one of the documents that specifically, I think, was provided by the manufacturer. Is that right, Rich?
Yeah, as part of the submittal.
The submittal of 390 pages, it had included in the testing by TUV. And that's what the results were that they got.
And so I don't want us to make any assumptions about what that data is or anything like that. You've got the plume analysis. It would have used that as the modeling. Once we can see that, once that's shared with the fire chief, we can address that question then. Unfortunately, we don't have the information in front of us.
I wrote it down and I'll get back to you.
And as far as the fire chief goes, we mentioned that, you mentioned one of the possibilities, if I heard you correctly, was water, flooding it with water and that
F500.
What about the runoff? I mean, one of the big concerns that a lot of these companies have is that water's, and sometimes it takes, from what I understand, 100,000 gallons of water a day or more. So my two questions are, we have enough water there with one hydrant?
Yes.
Because that tank that's there, I understand we only can draw 400,000 gallons out of it.
So
that's
before
it.
you answer that question, I'm not familiar with the manufacturer or the specs of the device. I don't know if the device is going to get to a point where it's fully submerged, where you cannot put additional water into it, or if there will actually be spill off through a blowout valve or anything
All
to
these
that.
cabinets aren't sealed, right? They're open.
No, the inside of the steel box that's
Yeah.
there, it's sealed. If we pump in, you can pump in to a point and then leave it. We can pump in and not.
Similar to an
overflow.
oil well. I mean,
So
an
it's
oil tank, right?
It's a
So
big
the bo-
steel box.
The
that
bottom is sealed.
enclosed.
But the top's got to be open for the vents to open, right?
The vents have to open.
The vents open. They have to be opened.
They would have been opened at this point already. This
Already.
would be the fourth mitigation effort
Okay.
from a safety perspective.
So you pump the water in, and then you got to pump it out, apparently, right?
Well, they would be taking care of that once.
No,
I'm
that's
done.
Just getting it in there.
Yeah, getting it in there. And one of the reasons for the F500 is to reduce the amount of water that we would have to use. I know you all have heard the stories about Teslas or EVs and them having used 40 and 50,000 gallons of water. With the F500, we're going to reduce that drastically because of its ability to work on a molecular level and stop the chemicals from even producing their own energy. So
So I think it's important to state that the containment itself is a valuable tool in this because it doesn't allow the water to run off, right? So water, just from a thermal conducting perspective, it takes a lot of energy to increase the boiling point of water. And so what you're trying to do by submerging these battery cells is to reduce the temperature of the battery cells
Right, no, I
themselves
understand that.
below the temperature of where they can actually ignite. And so the water capacity in there has already been calculated to the point where it wouldn't allow it to continue to combust based on the amount of water that's allowed to be into the container.
And the other thing is, this is a absolute last resort. I think, as we had discussed in a different conversation, we're not bothering or opening any containers that contain the batteries, period. And we're not doing anything with it. Like, you know, we're going to get the early alert. We're going to be notified. What we'll do when we first respond, you know, off the top of my head, we don't have the emergency response plan, but off the top of my head, it would be simply to, we're going to monitor and make sure the mitigation systems are doing what they're supposed to do, and make sure that the suppression system within the actual containers has done what it's supposed to do. Other than that, hopefully I'm never doing anything else other than notifying them and having their team come out and do what they have to do. I have, you know, concerns about my personnel's safety almost more than anything, because they're going to be in proximity. And if one of these events happen and there's a ground cover fire or something, there's a lot of voltage and a lot of electrical hazards that they could be exposed to, which is what I want to prevent. So we're not going and opening and messing with anything of this at all. You know, as a last resort, probably once their emergency team was on site, I wouldn't be putting water or F500 inside of the container until they said, hey, go ahead and do that. That's going to stop this. That's where I stand right now. You know, if we get the emergency response plan, or we talk with the technical advisors and they're like, no, you know, when you first get there, go ahead and flood it with F500, then we'll do that. But, you know, as it stands right now, that's not what we're doing. And I don't think that's going to be what they propose, because that would completely destroy the battery system, which doesn't have to be done. You know, the way I've read in reading these plans, if there is an issue with the cell, all of the mitigation components will work. You'll have the vents come on to reduce the gas, and there are very narrow thresholds. If the explosive level gets to 24% of the lower explosive limit, it will shut off everything. That's a very tight tolerance. So, like, those things, again, we'll be making sure and ensuring that those things are operating as they should, and then notifying their response team. And in the event that they're, you know, the ground cover fires, those kind of things, we will take care of them. But for us, the best mode of operation is to de-energize and treat it like it's a Class A fire, which for these containers, I would much rather leave the container as is, because worst case, they're going to come with a crane and take the container away because it's completely destroyed. But none of the components within the interior, the hazards that are present within the interior and the battery composition, will be exposed into the environment, if you will.
Okay. And one question I had is, you know, as somebody mentioned, there is an insurance policy, right?
There's a couple.
There's a couple, but for contamination, it's $1 million. $1 million, right? Did I say that right?
Oh, that's what's required.
That's what's required, right? That doesn't seem like a lot. I mean, a lot of houses in Norfolk have an insurance policy for $1 million.
I can't sit here and
No, I
have us
understand.
opine on the value of the insurance policy
I'm just saying,
at hand.
that's one thing. The other thing I'd like to know is, have you done a reliability analysis with single points of failure for this system, including the batteries?
Have I, or have
somebody done that?
I believe so, yeah.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah.
Reliability analysis? Or an availability analysis with single points of failure? And another question I had is, Chief, did you get the safety, Exhibit F was blank, the safety report was called?
I don't have the plume report yet. He just got it. And then the emergency response plan is going to be heavily weighted based on the plume. So that hasn't been developed yet in order to be able to give it to you.
Okay, the next grid's going to develop that and then give it to you?
Yes.
And they have to sign off on it.
Right. So do we know when that's coming, the emergency?
Well, it's all prepared. We're just entering the information from this plume study that, again, came
Then
today at
you'll
4
give it-
o'clock.
You'll give it to the chief and he'll tailor it, the Norfolk, right? Basically?
Yes. Yeah, I'll review it and make sure it answers or make sure it addresses the components that are concerned for
Give it
us.
somebody else.
We have a question from the board.
Yes, just, you were going to go back and give us data on the number of facilities that are similar in the country and also the number of failures, if any, maybe none. But what I might ask is, because in conversation today, it sounds like this system has evolved, maybe just a better battery design came along, and that's the only thing that changed, and it's a more reliable battery. But if there's 4 levels of failure and you were going to look at them, are you able to determine how many times there was a level 1 failure? Which I think and as I'm writing down, is one of the levels of mitigation the battery management system? Does it go to vents? Does it go to shutdown? Does it go to flooding? Did I get any of that right? I didn't read it.
You did all right, yeah.
But it's okay. Do you know how often, are you able to determine how often each of those occurs? I would assume flooding is pretty rare.
I've never heard of that happening in New England. Outside of the news, I've never heard of that happening. So the battery manufacturer should be able to provide that level of data. I don't know what's publicly available in terms of what fails, like how many fail safes did it have to go through till the problem was mitigated for other products. I don't know if that's publicly reported on.
Yeah, we keep talking catastrophic failures, so it's gone.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming there could be situations that are occurring between that. On a regular, I'm sure with your battery management system, when a number of cells fail, you're going to go in, you're going to go in and change the batteries out. You're not just going to keep letting the system get less efficient, and you're not going to take a chance that something's going to go wrong if the cells keep failing. But that's over a long period of time.
Correct.
I just don't see how often these other things could occur. Venting doesn't occur on a regular basis, right?
So none of this occurs on a regular basis.
Well, you're always managing the battery system. You're always looking.
Yeah.
Maybe nothing fails.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, we operate these, granted, like everyone will tell you, they haven't really been in service. One of the first ones we've installed was only 4 years ago now. And we have 40 or so of these operating, and we've never had a single issue during operation.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think the data is available to see when you get downstream where something had to be shut down because it was starting to run away?
I think I can get it from our manufacturer that we're purchasing projects from. I don't know if we can get that in a macro level.
All right.
Yeah.
Any additional questions in the audience? Have we had any on Zoom? Peter Diamond has his hand up.
Oh, yep.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes, through the chair, about the site plan. I think earlier in the conversation, the gentleman said there's 12 feet between rows. Just like to clarify that, I thought I read a plan that showed 8 feet. And saying that the distance between the rows is, like to share that with the chief too, as far as him having access down the rows of modules.
Thank you for that request for clarification. So I'm assuming we'll hear back on that in next month's meeting.
Yeah. I, for the record, didn't make a statement about the distance between rows. Someone else had
I asked
made
the question and
made
you
that
said
comment.
yes in the affirmative.
Yeah, that's our standard is 12 feet, so I assume it's 12 feet, but if it's 8 feet, I'll definitely verify that.
Okay.
8 feet is the minimum for our brush truck and ambulance, so it has to be 8 feet or more.
One more question, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
So the original plans that I reviewed for the electrical wiring showed everything underground. And Chief, we ran into a similar situation where they didn't put everything underground down at the other facility. And during a site visit that I had with David recently, they mentioned changing the wiring method to some sort of above ground wiring method that would restrict vehicular access to those roads, Chief. So I'd like clarification on the wiring methods that are going to be used throughout the solar array. They're above ground or in the ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom? If not, I know we have a question in the audience.
Two quick questions. What is the expected battery pack or system lifespan, and will it be changed on an ongoing basis, or is it going to be a one big giant replacement? And second, what is the maximum capacity of the two containers now? Because earlier you mentioned that one was at partial capacity. If you were to max them out, what would be the max kilowatts for those containers?
So your first question, sorry, was
the battery lifespan and how often would they have to be
lifespan,
replaced, or replaced as a single unit?
Yeah, so the manufacturer states a 10-year lifespan. That's also what is reflected in the warranty they provide. We plan for switching the batteries within 10 years. That is also based on degradation. So once you're using the batteries for a certain amount of time, it'll become less efficient, and once that becomes financially detrimental or whatever, we would make that change. So 10 years, and this is a 20-year contract with utility, so theoretically they'd be changed once, then decommissioned at the end of the contract with Eversource. Your second question was?
The maximum capacity if those two containers were full.
Okay. So you can measure it in megawatts, but it's also in megawatt hours. I know the increase, I believe, was only 276 kilowatt hours of continuous discharge. So let me.
I think you currently have 6.1 megawatts DC.
The increase was to
the capacity,
2,738.
Of the full system, but the battery is different. Do we have that, Betsy?
So you went from 2 megawatts to 3 megawatts.
Let me get that.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, I was hoping we would have the.
Yeah, what you're looking for, Dan?
The two plans.
Which one?
But if not, let me get that as well. Sorry about that.
I don't know if you can just do it percentage-wise, like it's the second one's at 50% capacity, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's an answer later?
Yeah, I just want to be exact.
Okay. And if when you replace the batteries and that new battery is coming online, if that's a different chemistry, is that going to come before the board again?
Yeah. So that would be a trigger for a new change, and you can definitely condition that with the change, that if the chemistry were to change, we'd have to come back.
In 10 years from now, I mean, right?
Yeah, we can
Not
take that
just the
under
design
advisement and
process.
consider it based on the authority that the board has.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Something amazing in 10 years.
By then, it'll be 0 point energy, right?
Yeah.
Any further questions from the audience before we go back to Mr. Oliveri? All right.
Thanks. So this has to do with.
So what?
Sorry.
I'm going to ask that you ask your question, and then we're going to take a 5-minute break. My bladder's calling me.
I respect your bladder.
Thank you.
So this has to do with vegetation, and it's just a controversial, contradictory statement. In the operations and maintenance plan, page 6, it says vegetation maintenance. It says the solar O&M will be mowed to maintain a grass height of 12 inches. The use of, wait a minute, here it is. Woody seedlings may also be removed by hand. The use of a weed whacker is recommended. No pesticides, fertilizers, herbicides, or chemicals will be used to manage vegetation. And in the solar plan mod merge documents, the one that's 390 pages, it says, on page 105, it says, keep free of weeds either by hand weeding or by use of pre-emergent weed control such as Treflon or Surfion. Both of those are herbicides which impact wildlife and aquatic life. There's two different, which is it?
So
the contradictory.
that other document that you are quoting is coming from the battery manufacturer.
No, it's coming from Operations and Maintenance, BSC,
The second one is?
the first one.
The first one is correct.
Second one's coming from page 105 of the solar plan mod merged documents.
Mod?
From the stormwater report.
That's my merged.
Yeah, that's all the documents that the planning board received in one PDF file.
So I'll have to see where the second one is coming
It's
from.
section 5 of the stormwater report. is
Yeah,
where
page
it's-
105.
I'll make sure BSC gets rid of that because we don't use herbicides on site. So I'll make,
Well, BSC is the one that says don't use this for service.
yeah, so if
Don't
they,
use
they include it in their stormwater plans, I'm sure they just made
It says
it.
the use of herbicides, this is BSC, use of herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers, or other chemicals for maintenance of the vegetation throughout the array and outside the fence is prohibited.
Yeah.
This other section says, yeah, go for it.
I'll have to find out the second section because the second section's wrong.
Okay.
I'll have to find out where that came from.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right, so we're going to take a 5-minute adjournment, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Gavel, nice.
Yeah, first time ever that I've ever seen.
All right, we are back. Thank you for the adjournment. Topic at hand is the solar project at Pond Street. We were in a question and answer session with the public. Looking at the public, our audience has dwindled a little bit. I appreciate everybody who's held out for this. Are there any additional questions from the audience at this point in time?
Jack, you must have one.
I'm trying to
Save
look at
them.
the ones he'd
Save
want me
them.
to ask.
Save them for next week. Or
Next month.
For next week.
I'll ask a quick one.
Or next week, yeah.
It's not next month, it's next week.
So next week is so let's do a little announcement. We have the ZBA meeting on.
I will do it again.
Let's do it again, yeah.
7:30, January 21st,
Tuesday?
Wednesday. Where you're sitting now, you could sit next Wednesday.
Room 124
And everybody
in Town
else,
Hall.
Same space. Different but later.
The ZB one. What is that?
That's the
Zoning Board
ZBA.
of
That's the
Appeals.
ZBA.
Yep.
The next planning board meeting is,
That's February 10th.
February 10th. Yeah, February 10th. Yes. Question in the back. Do you need a microphone?
How can we be able to talk to the building inspectors, the people that are also in charge of?
So they're here Monday through Thursday. You can either call the office directly, or you can come down and visit. They're right across the hall.
Okay.
I got a general question. A general question. Who is it that's responsible for the entire, how do I put this, safety of the battery in the system? Not who's responsible for, fire control or after an event occurs, but who looks at the battery, for example, the battery storage, and says, okay, this system is as safe as we can make it as far as we know right now. Is there a single point of contact for that person, is that the emergency manager we have in?
That is
In
the
Norfolk?
underwriter's laboratory that certifies the equipment.
They certify the equipment. They don't certify the design. I'm not talking about the equipment. I'm talking about the
That's
design.
What we're required to go by state and federal government law.
So they can hook this up any way they want, as long as the equipment that they're using is certified? That doesn't make a lot of
I
sense.
can't speak to how that works. The only thing that I can say is that it's outside of our authority.
Well, is it, yeah, but that's not what I'm asking.
I don't think there is one
Is there
particular
a one
person.
point of contact in Norfolk?
Not in Norfolk, no. This is not something that we can look at from an internal perspective at that way. Go
I
ahead.
can help you out a little
Please.
bit. So UL certifies the battery, and then we install it per the National Electric Code. The new National Electric Code involves battery storage, and then it's your building and electrical inspector it's their job to make sure that we're following the NEC. And so, I mean, does that answer your question somewhat?
No, not really. It's like how you hook up the equipment is what I'm asking. That's why I'm asking for the availability,
That's the
reliability
electrical
analysis.
department, as he said. How we hook up the equipment is the electrical department.
And it's under the
Your
national...
electrical department, right?
No,
No, our electrical inspector. So basically what he's saying is the equipment, the way this goes is kind of a flow chart. I know you were discussing flow charts earlier. So all of the components have to be UL listed or certified.
Right.
Then, once you have the UL listed certified components, how they are put together, how they are wired, is all in the electrical code, and they have to be done to the electrical code standard. And then, as far as I go, I'm the next step in the process because NFPA 855 and NFPA 70 deal with electricity, and NFPA 855 specifically with bulk energy storage. So the system would have to be compliant with both NFPA 70, NFPA 855, as well as the electrical code. Our wiring inspector, who is very, very, very good, is one of the best in the region, I can attest to that, and our building commissioner as well, would be reviewing and making sure that the things are built to the standard as required. So that would be kind of a group effort, if you will. There's no one person that you could go to and say, well, who's responsible? In the ongoing piece of it, the ongoing piece is annually, at minimum, and I have to read the standard again, but at minimum, I will be inspecting the site and getting inspection reports and documentation that all of the mitigating systems have been tested and are working as they should. And if they aren't, I have no problem shutting the thing down.
Okay, one other question, software, you have a software group that develops the software for this system? Remote software plus local software?
So the BYD system comes with its own software, and it works with our monitoring system, which is called Also Energy.
Okay.
SCADA system.
Okay.
In terms of the
Hold
monitoring.
on, please introduce yourself.
Oh,
Your name
Karen-
and street address.
Karen Clark, Seekonk Street. In terms of the monitoring system, aside from the computer end of it, if there is an event that people have to come to the site, I believe you said it takes them about 30 minutes to get there. Who are those people? Is that something you sub out?
Yeah, so we use, I'll get you all the information. That's a question that was already asked, so I'm already going to come with the full response. But
Okay.
yeah, it is a third-party emergency response company that this is what they specialize in. We don't have anyone on staff in the area that would be able to respond in an emergency. We'd be able to show up. We have people in the area that would make decisions, but not that could respond physically to, besides just turning off the system. So we'd use that third party.
So if our fire chief had to make, or had suggestions as to how things should proceed in an emergency, he'd only have contact then with the computer people, because the on-site people...
No, the on-site people would come, and there'd be someone from our company that would come as well. I'm just saying that the people
Somebody
that
from
could
your
do
company, too.
physical work on-site is a third-party contractor.
I'm just concerned about the time frame.
Yeah.
30 minutes is a long time.
So
If decisions have to be made quickly,
Yeah, like,
Chief needs, advice and their expertise to move forward and make decisions. As he said, he doesn't want to put his team in any kind of jeopardy.
sure. I'll get you the exact response time. They say they can make it within 30 minutes of anywhere in Massachusetts, and I'll get a specific time,
Long time, yeah.
on, for Norfolk.
Okay, thank you.
How would the town?
Hold
be
on,
notified?
microphone.
Would it reverse 911?
Microphone.
How would the town be notified? Would it be like a reverse 911 call or something else?
If it rose to a level where it was necessary to do a mass notification, yes, we would be able to use that system to notify residents. Similar to when we've had to do explosive ordinances and things like that, we've notified the whole town, and we would do the same thing in that case. Based on the preliminary information that I have from the plume study, I don't see it coming to that degree of evacuation or notification being necessary, but certainly if it is, absolutely we will.
And
I'm
plus,
not just
Jack,
talking about
somebody
that.
would put it on Facebook before anybody else knew.
Yeah, but I'm not just talking about evacuation. I'm talking about one of these fires that we were talking about in Warwick. There was a notification of people shutting their windows, shelter in place, and turning off the school ventilators on top of the roof so that any toxic gases didn't get in the schools. And they did that. And by the way, when they went in there, they still found 3 or 4 classrooms that smelled of smoke. So they had to go in and thoroughly clean them. But they minimized the impact to the school classrooms by shutting off the ventilators on the roof. So that's kind of what I was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, yes, if we had an emergency that rose to that level, or, it was beyond the internal mitigating system where basically we arrive and there's a large smoke plume or something like that, there's not going to be any hesitation on doing a reverse 911 and letting citizens know, with specific instructions, whether that be shelter in place or anything like that. And we would definitely use the police in an instance like that, so that people in the immediate area, we would be evacuating, like we've done where we've had explosive ordinances found. We had to, I refer to the emergency response guidebook, and go with those minimum thresholds and usually expand it a little bit just to make sure everybody's safe. And we would do that immediately in that case.
Would it make sense to put smoke detectors at various sensitive locations around town, like the schools or the recreation field on Pond Street, places like that?
Detectors, I think we should get the notification long before any of those would even come close to activating, based off of the mitigation systems that are built into the system. We should have very early notification.
Not to mention visual notification from the police station that's right up the hill.
Right. So we would have plenty of warning and time based on that, where that wouldn't be necessary to have. Now, what we can do and what we would do in the instance of something like that is we would take our gas meters and deploy them strategically so that we could know direction of travel of harmful,
Right.
We have the capability to do that.
You can't always see the smoke before
Right.
you can smell it, right? Yeah, so, okay, that's all I had.
All right. Are we at the point where we've exhausted all questions from the audience? Do we have any further?
For tonight.
For tonight, yes. We have more opportunities for questions at the meeting next week with the ZBA, Wednesday in room 124 here in Town Hall, or on February 10th, Planning Board meeting, 7 PM, room 124, or on Zoom, or you can follow along on YouTube. So then I'm going to look for a motion for continuance of 90, 92, 96, 100, 100R Pond Street and 12 Sharon Avenue until our February 10th meeting at 7:15.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion's passed. Thank you very much. Appreciate everyone's time. I appreciate the thoughtful questions. I feel we conducted ourselves in a very good manner, and I'd love to see everybody at the next planning board meeting and ones following that one when this topic is no longer on the agenda as well.
Come and visit.
Come and visit.
Yeah.
We should start having pizza parties.
Thank you.
before our meetings.
Pizza parties.
Yeah.
We'd have to have a hearing, a meeting notice for the pizza party.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. All right.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Actually, are you leaving? We're talking about the fire station committee next.
Oh, yeah, I'll stay.
All right.
Yeah.
I can't stay to watch.
All right. All right, our next topic for discussion is the Fire Station Building Committee. We're going to discuss and vote on the administrative approval for the fire station drainage modification. Mr. Champagne, as the official representation for the Fire Station Building Committee, want to bring us up to speed?
Sure. I assume you can hear me okay?
Yep, you're good.
So as most of you probably already know, detention basin number 1 is not functioning properly. That's the detention basin directly in front of the station. It really hasn't functioned since it was constructed. It was built in December, and it really has not functioned properly. So over the past few months, we've been doing some testing of the basin to try and determine the cause. 2 possible causes that were the two most likely causes were either silt in the upper layers of the basin, not allowing it to drain, or high groundwater. So back in the fall, we did some testing and did confirm that there is significant silt in the top layers. The groundwater could not be verified, but a groundwater monitor was installed. So in order to address the situation, we discussed some options, which Niche, we have Marissa from Judith Niche here tonight. We'll talk through one of the options, but the options that were discussed was one to rebuild the basin as is with properly specified material, and the other was installing, changing the design and going to more of a chamber system. The committee wanted to at least explore the chamber basin system because there's a couple benefits. One, it's less reliant on the upper layer material, and 2, it could be installed in adverse weather conditions, and we're all kind of at the point where we want to try and get this behind us, get it remedied, and move on. And this second option would allow us to do that sooner than just reconstructing the basin. So we at least wanted to pursue this option, but wanted to obviously present it to the planning board first, since it's a change. Get your opinion on it, and then go to the contractor for pricing on what that system would be. So Steve or Doran Whittier or Judith Niche, if you want to kind of take it from there. If you think I left anything out, certainly feel free to chime in, but that's where we're at.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Just to sort of update a little further, Niche did send in the request for the administrative modification. We did get some comments back today. They submitted last week. We got some comments back today from Beta that need to be reviewed and responded to. But we want to continue on with this just to make sure that you, as a board, don't have any particular issues with this new approach. I guess Don or Marissa, do you have anything to add? Maybe Marissa, you should probably go through the new design.
So before we go further, just for clarification, the Beta report that I have in front of me was based on the second design. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Go ahead, Marissa. You're on some sort of a mute.
Headset issues.
There we go.
I can go through the revision. So I'll share my screen.
We're just going to give you rights. Hold on.
Okay, thank you. I think as Kevin mentioned, well, I'm getting the rights to share. This is for bioretention basin number 1, which is the large bioretention basin directly in front of the new fire station. So that is this area right here you see in the purplish blue shading. what is before you on the screen is the approved design. Essentially, there's stormwater from this catch basin parking lot discharging into this basin, along with a couple stormwater outlets, inlets, and along the apparatus bay, and some roof drainage. The proposed design modification would be a subsurface infiltration system, which is shown in red. So what you're seeing is it's a chamber system. This would allow the system to be brought up in elevation. We would require removal of the existing bioretention soils and non-functioning layers. Backfill with stone, and then placing the chambers and backfilling on top of it. And then kind of go through the revised grading. So stormwater will function pretty similar to how it's functioning now, except everything will occur underground, so subsurface and at a slightly higher elevation. What you're seeing in this lighter shade of green will be at a higher elevation. So instead of having a large depression, it will actually be slightly elevated, and that's just to make sure that, you know, there's no ponding in this area, grass, lawn planted. Over on this side, which, just to orient you, this is the apparatus bay. There are some existing stormwater inlets, so those will still continue to flow in through the curb cut into this depressed area. The difference is because we are not using this depressed area as infiltration or taking credit for it, the outlet at the bottom is at the bottom. It's not raised up, so the intention is not to have any ponding water in this area, even though it's a slight depression.
And that would still feed into the capsules, or no?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Would that still feed into the capsule system, or no?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So it would still feed in. So there'd be a new
Got it, okay.
access basin, which is like it's a 24-inch plastic structure where you're only really seeing the top of it, similar to the existing structure that's along the slope here, and then it would be piped and feed into the chamber system.
Thank you.
No problem. So as previously mentioned, we did submit, updated stormwater calcs, showing that the system meets the Mass DEP and Norfolk stormwater requirements. Did review Beta's peer review letter, and we are able to address those comments and respond accordingly. With that, ask if there's any questions.
Have you? Go ahead.
Sorry. We spent like an hour during initial approval talking about the types of grasses, and it was an enthralling conversation originally. So are those going to get replanted above this thing, or is this just going to look like dirt?
So, excuse me, above the system, it will be planted, and it can be a lawn is what we're proposing.
Okay.
So, similar to other landscaped areas on the site.
Thank you.
Have you reviewed Beta's comment?
Yes.
Any concerns that stand out?
I don't have any concerns. I know that they did request some additional information, which we're happy to provide for them, and for the town to show that it meets the stormwater requirements. But no, I don't have any concern.
Okay. Now we also have a representative from Beta on the line.
Yes, hello.
Steve,
Steve Lake with the Bay Group.
you want to just run us through this very quickly?
Sure. So my first comment is just an additional, these kind of subsurface systems usually have inspection ports. So they were shown on the plan. It's just a matter of providing inspection ports for the basin. I had a couple comments. Stormwater SW2 and SW3 were relating to the HydroCAD, which is I'm sure you know, which is the modeling software we use regarding to time of concentration and to how the infiltration is being modeled. So those were just two comments on that. I was speaking about this with my boss, Phil, and he suggested that because of the nature of this, doing our hydraulic conductivity test on the native soil wouldn't be a bad idea, just to confirm the infiltration rate and the capacity for it. That would happen once the bioretention area was excavated out. For local stormwater management, there was one comment regarding phosphorus. It's just a matter of providing the calculations to ensure that the proper amount is being infiltrated to treat the 50% phosphorus load. And I believe, and yes, I had a couple if you go to the last page, for standard 8, they're just to have silt sacks installed in any existing catch basins. That way we're not, we're making sure we're starting fresh.
Right.
Again, we're not getting any construction debris in there. And then my final comment was to update the operation and maintenance plan, like they provided notes on their plan for operation and maintenance, and just that the updated report, that the existing report be updated to include the chambers.
Okay, thank you. Nothing egregious. Appreciate that, thank you.
No.
Okay, and then, so Kevin, I guess point question to you. In the original build, there was funding left over, and I'm assuming that funding is what would be left to build out this option 2?
Yeah, so we still have a pretty healthy contingency left on the project. This is kind of the last item that's preventing the project from being closed out, but that's the money that would be used. We wouldn't be coming back to ask for additional funds.
Okay.
If this is the route that we went.
Got it. And then, so thinking about this just from like a timeline perspective, if we move forward today, you get quotes and everything, when are we looking at shovels in the ground and project complete?
Steve, or I don't know if you want to handle that one.
We wanted to make sure that we had no issues with you as the board before we issue to the contractor. So we would need to get pricing from the contractor and have some discussions with them. But so we haven't had that. But the beauty of this is this isn't necessarily weather dependent. So and the site work contractor is a local guy. So we're hoping that this can be done. But we do realize that we have a TCO that I believe expires at the end of February. So we probably want to extend that. And I know that we can't do that at this meeting. It probably at your next meeting.
When does it expire in February?
The end.
The end of February, okay.
End of February.
Right.
So you could do we talked about doing it the next meeting, but just.
So we'll put that on the agenda for the 10th.
Yes.
Okay. And then
I wasn't sure whether we needed to, we need to appear for that, but whether you wanted to review Nich's responses to Beta's comments, or whether you think they're fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I don't see anything from like a concern perspective. It looks like a lot of the changing of the calculations. I'm assuming if we're going in and doing that, we're still going to be well within tolerances. So I'm assuming there's going to be one more back and forth on this where we'll see another letter from Steve that says that the requirements have been met. And then our decision in the future will just have that additional hydraulic conductivity and permeability test in there as a condition of approval.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
I personally don't see any reason not to move forward. Any questions from the board? Feelings? Do you need a motion, a vote from us? Or is this more just informational?
No, I do need a vote, but I think if you, my question would be back to you. Do you want to see Nich's response to Beta and then approve it at the February meeting, or you go
Just
okay with
condition it, do it
contingency?
now?
Condition it.
We can condition it.
All right. Well, there you go. So then,
All right, so what are you asking me to formulate from a language perspective here?
it's administrative change to the site plan approval for the Norfolk Fire Station. All right, help me, the basin, what number are the basins again?
One.
Oh.
Phase one.
Okay, it should have done one. All right. One, going with the Coltech.
You're adding a lot of words into this one.
We just be pretty.
Shouldn't ask me.
Had me at one.
All right, one, design alternative, I don't know, I'm lost for words, actually, sorry.
Underground system.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the administrative change to the site plan modification for the fire station building that relegates us to utilizing option 2 as discussed at the Tuesday, January 13th planning board meeting, contingent upon a clear response and review from Beta at our February 10th meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, hearing none, the motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate everybody's hard work on this one.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Who's up for some bylaw amendments?
Yay. All right. So,
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
So,
in term,
do you want to talk about possibly that split we were discussing,
split?
the meetings?
Oh, yeah. Sure, that'd be part of the discussion. So, as you know, there's been a fair amount of discussion about the budget being a little more challenging going to FY '27. So there's, as part of that discussion, there's kind of a request in terms of like limiting the things that are on the annual town meeting. So it's more of a focused annual town meeting relative to the budget. However, having said that, discussed that it would go through the select board because they would have to call a special town meeting, but to allow a special town meeting to occur for the zoning changes that we're going to talk about, as opposed to having to wait to the fall.
And so the idea would be, it would be a fast follow for us from the town meeting, which is scheduled for?
May
10th or 13th?
It's scheduled for May, and so hopefully we would be able to follow up in June.
Yeah.
Prior to school being complete.
And you're going to ask the question, why?
Well, so specifically because, like, I don't care one way or the other, especially if it's shortly after. But if we're there to discuss our financial problems, and then we're going to say, and also we would like to spend how much on a special town meeting the following month.
That was going to be my point, too.
You know, that's why it's a little, I don't know, seems a little.
No, I agree. I don't make those high-level decisions. But I also, it's a fair point, right? So, we probably should talk about, well, there's actually three changes, three potential changes. The one that's probably, well, I don't know. So we've been working on the B1.
Yeah, we've got rezoning for B1.
B1
So this
for
was
bit.
delayed from the fall of 2025. It's now scheduled for spring 26, following the analysis with MAPC. And then, so this rezoning approach, it aims to give the planning board more flexibility through a special permit process for specific requirements. Additionally, we have ADU bylaw adjustments, which are making necessary adjustments to the accessory dwelling unit bylaw. That's based on the guidance and lessons learned from the building department since the bylaw went into effect in February 2025. Additionally to that, we've been looking at rezoning the R1, rezoning districts that are R2 and R3 to R1. This zoning change would look to rezone a portion of the town to R1, noting that some of these areas are currently designated to R2 and R3.
In my brain, number 1 and 2 are kind of easy sells that don't require a ton of time at a special, at town meeting. And number 3 is, first I'm hearing about it and can probably wait till the fall.
So like I'll start off by life decision tree. So every option we take has a positive and negative effect. The reason why we've had discussions with the developer relative to Cranberry Heights, which is the proposed 40B off of Lawrence Street.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
He's warmed up to the idea of that we've made the adjustment to 10%. Okay, so that was one of a cost, a development cost component. The third item is really more of a density. So how much density occurs as part of the development. So the options are, so he would like to see a density in the 30s, not 50, 52, which is the
40B.
The 40B, and then the previous plan that was approved it would have been approved was 22. So we're kind of in between.
A lot of this is because of the change from R2 to R1. R2 is more restrictive. It has a larger lot size, additional frontage that's required as well when compared to R1. The R1 allows for a tighter footprint, but not anything that we haven't seen already in town because R1 is an existing district. So this would allow us to be more flexible for these types of development situations, especially with the change to 10%.
So just for people listening at home, R1, 30,000 square feet, 150 feet of frontage. R2, 200 feet, 43,560 feet, which is actually an acre. R3, 200 feet of frontage, 55,000 square feet of total area. This area is presently zoned R3, excuse me. It's adjacent to the R1 district, which is in the brown, actually, which if I,
Use a computer. There you go.
It also abuts the Rentham town line, which
yeah,
has
so
similar
Rentham's to
density.
I'll show you on the, could you switch over to my,
That's my neck.
please?
So you're familiar with the lot sizes on the other side of the line.
Yeah, and 200-foot setback because my driveway takes forever to plow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Think about all the gas that you'd save.
So I was thinking I need to zoom into this. I might want to zoom in a little bit more, but
Yeah, it just looks like a weird blob of
it's a weird blob, right?
all spills and.
Yeah, maybe it was too much, but that's
Why
not.
would you ever need 200 feet in the front? Obviously, you don't want it, Gary.
So we will say it's pretty clear, right? Why you would, maybe it's somebody's primary motive, but it may be secondary. But essentially, you lower density, right? So 200 feet of frontage, you create more, this is not just in Norfolk, this is throughout
Yeah.
Right.
our state, right? So it's a backwards in a backwards way to lower density in the district. The challenge with that is that you come to a point over time where it doesn't make sense feasibly and financially. So people who are selling property and people who are developing property, they look at the 40B route as a way to get around our local zoning because the density is, while it's, it's not very dense per se, but when you add in that frontage requirement,
It's restrictive.
it really becomes restrictive. Coupled with here, the length of a dead-end street is 500 feet. So, you do the math, 200 feet with 500 feet, you don't really go very far, right? So those coupling factors are also, which we did talk about when we talked about the inclusionary, that when you start to add those all up, they have an impact on development. So, so one approach to this potentially could be, is to take some of those zones that are adjacent to the R1, which is the brown, and make them the R3 and R1. So basically you go from, 55 to 30,000 and then 150 feet of frontage. That would determine the yield. Ultimately, we want to encourage people to develop is open space, a cluster type development, which again reduces the overall lot size in terms of yards, so forth and so on, and then in exchange for set aside for open space. So the discussion we have with the developer in this particular instance is like, the way the bylaw is written today and the open space bylaw, it's based on the underlying zoning district. So the discussion is, well, could you show a plan that's got a density that's, higher but doesn't meet the underlying zoning? And sure, you could do that, but, would the board approve something like that? How would so all those other external factors will come in to that decision on ultimately what it gets to. So this approach is one approach. The other approach could be that you don't change the underlying zoning, but you allow for a higher density with an open space. So you give them right now it's a 10% bonus. You give them a higher bonus if you develop it as an open space. Under the open space bylaw, the frontage is 100 feet, and you can go down to half acre. So that's, the minimum lot size under the open space. So that's kind of this one is somewhat, what he's been saying is somewhat time sensitive because his 40B project eligibility letter is going to be running out. I'd like to have more time. I do. But I'm just being like, this is what gets communicated back to me. So that's, that's one of the drivers about having a special town, like, to go to the fall, there's probably I don't know what happened, but.
I don't know, it makes sense though, and
You know.
I hear it, but back to Melissa's original point, we called special town meeting for the fire department. That was not cheap, right? It had great turnout, actually, right? Like, really good
Yeah.
turnout. But not cheap, and it's like, if the whole point of this is, hey, we need to focus all the time on a regular town meeting for the finance stuff, so we're gonna hold another special town meeting that's gonna cost $9,000, that just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I get it. I would, now,
I hear you. I think the
there's
scope
another option.
of this change,
Which I don't think we've done here. Sorry to interject. Before, I haven't seen it since I've been here over the past 8 years. You could have a special the same night as the annual.
What problem does that solve?
It gets, so it's a different time. I know adjust time, so you have a special at a certain time, the same night.
Oh, so you're saying like an hour earlier?
Yeah, an hour earlier to cover that, and then you go into an annual.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because, not because of me, like,
Because
I
it's
don't
late
care.
tonight. You shouldn't be
No,
thinking about
No,
this.
well, I mean, it is late tonight, but no, I think because when you start moving things around to times when people don't expect them to be, they think you're trying to slide something through that
Yeah.
you don't want them.
This is not a small change.
No,
Like,
it's pretty
No,
big.
That's a big one. Yeah.
if you look at that R3 district, it's all of that. If you look at the R2 district, a small one, we were also considering the R2 district by the B1 there as well. right? So it affects a good portion of the town, and so I want to make sure people have the opportunity to come and hear or speak.
And also can stay awake for the rest of the meeting, which is probably going to be long and require a lot of brain power, going through budget
100%.
stuff.
Yeah. Later.
I
That's
definitely
why we're
think it
having
should
the
be I
conversation.
definitely think it should be another day.
Hmm?
I think it should probably be another day if it's going to be that involved for the town meeting, because we always end up at the end of the warrant.
Right. And
But-
that's
but
part of my
then it costs
concern.
money.
Additionally, we bring out folks who aren't necessarily there for it. And they're just learning about it at that point, and then they're making a decision either based on just what they're hearing or what they're feeling at that point in time, and perhaps they didn't like the way the previous decision went, or they don't know enough about this, but they're still going to vote anyway, or we get people who are just going to go the direction that advisory board's going. So this allows us to have an opportunity where it's just devoted to these items, where the only items on the agenda, there's no mistaking what it is that we're talking about, and vested individuals will be showing up to this.
Or no one.
Or no one.
And then we spent all this money for no reason.
Well, we don't have a quorum for town meeting.
Yeah, there's no
but-
quorum for that. You just need one person to show up.
But not that that's,
Well, there's Donna. Oh, Sue. Sue will be there.
yeah, Sue and Donna.
Yeah, I'd be careful, saying that we don't want everybody that shows up at town meeting to be voting on this, that it impacts the whole town. I mean, I get the point of wanting to have focused attention, but I don't know, I mean.
I think that's a better way to put it, right? Like, I want the focused attention on the items that are on hand. I don't necessarily want someone who's not interested in this to make a decision based on thoughts and feelings.
Well, that's the nature of town meeting. I mean, that's the structure of government we're under, right? I don't know I don't know how hard a decision's been made or who's made it on nothing but the budget for that town meeting, but, I mean, sometimes you have to discuss multiple complicated things at a town meeting.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is only just like now. I mean, this is developed real time, like this whole idea of not, but I don't know if it has legs or not, but I'm just letting you know that's been made aware that that's something that's being discussed, which, I agree, and it's, even if you.
And so walk me through this. If we decide that we want to go into the regular town meeting, but the select board decides not to accept our warrants at their meeting and push us to a separate meeting, that is another avenue they can choose to take. Is that fair? Or do they have to accept the warrants that we submit?
The articles?
Yeah, the articles.
As far as I know, I think they have to.
They have to.
Is
Yeah.
this- so
But then
is
you
it-
got a 6-month time frame.
Is this
by
idea?
statute. You gotta have, huh?
Is this idea coming from advisory then? Or select? Like where, I'm just curious where it's coming from. Because I know advisory likes to keep things, obviously, they want like the bylaws that we present to be at certain times a year, budget
Yeah.
other times a year. I'm just curious,
Well,
what's motivating this aside from, like, we have a lot of long meetings, town meetings, like, how is this one gonna be any different?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's, well, I don't know who the origin of it, I think advisory, but I'm not sure. I could find out. I'm not like at the meeting, so I have no idea, it was,
Just an idea, yeah.
I heard about it and I'm like, oh, okay.
As much as I want the focused attention, I do think that, A, a lot of people probably wouldn't show up based on our historical numbers, and B, I don't want to spend the money for a special meeting for no one to show up. And I'm assuming that it's not going to be a lot of people, but I also just don't want to spend the money when we can just make it succinct messaging. We can put out stuff in advance like we do typically, and then save money for the town.
So it was my idea.
What was your idea?
Yeah. To separate it out, just because I've had discussions with Anita and David and Calcut around the topics that were going to be at hand at the town meeting. And one of the asks was, do you have to go in the spring town meeting? Because we're anticipating a lot of debate, we're anticipating a lot of conversation, and we're anticipating a lot of concerns around some of what's going to be discussed at that town meeting. And so they wanted to push us off to the fall. Me talking to Rich, knowing what we had coming up on the docket and knowing the importance of it, I thought can we just do a special meeting? I didn't want to be forthright about it because I don't want it to feel like the chair is pushing this decision down. But I will own it.
It's not a bad thought. It's just my concern is the cost, and if we've got everybody in a room, I would rather just, I would rather just do it the way that we're supposed to. Not the way we're supposed to, but the way that
It's already planned.
We've been planning to do it, and the complication there is the timing of it. The R2, R3 changes May. Like, we can shorten up that pitch in that cycle for town meeting at probably the expense of us spending a lot of time in this room together trying to figure out.
Well, that was the impetus of the conversation as well, because if we are going to do that, then we need to ensure that we're shoring up from a timeline perspective what it is that we're going to bring to the advisory committee, when we're going to bring it to them, how we're going to present, and then our revision process as well. So those were all things that were topics of discussion. And so if we're going to go forward with this, then I'm anticipating probably 2, maybe 3 additional planning board meetings in order to get that done between February and March and April.
So just pause it a moment.
Hold on, Sue wants to make a comment. You want to come up?
Make a comment that.
Hold on, we can't hear you.
Sorry.
That's right.
Oh, I put away the
I'm getting a comfy
microphone,
seat.
sorry. Yeah, it's in the comfy seat, so.
So just want to be mindful to.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, Sue Jacobson, Affordable Housing Director, sorry. When Rich and I went to the advisory board in the fall to discuss the inclusionary zoning bylaw, Rich did mention that you had been working on some B1 district changes, and the advisory board made it extremely clear that they didn't want to hear about zoning changes until spring. And now we're here with the Springtown meeting coming, so that would be my concern. If these changes, could the advisory board now say, because of what's coming before the town with the budget and the concerns that they have, rightfully so, our expectation is that this meeting is going to be a pretty heavy meeting. We want to bump you to the fall, and I don't think that some of these can wait until the fall.
Right, or they
Just my opinion.
vote to indefinitely postpone it.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Which puts us in the position we were in the last meeting, where we'd have to do the special thing that we did. Forget the name of it, but anyway. So that's the thing, right? And so bylaw does not require us to go to the advisory board and review anything that we want to put into the warrant, because what we're doing is not financial, right? But that doesn't mean that the advisory board can't take it upon themselves to draft a decision, vote on it, and document that in the warrant. So it kind of puts us at a loss if we don't participate in their process. But it also puts us at a loss of time if we participate in their process, because it requires more time and energy from the board to get to that point.
Can we do, so in certain towns, they'll have a 2-day town meeting?
I'm not familiar, no.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so in that case, I don't know what the breakdown of cost is, obviously.
I don't know that it significantly changes it. It's just another day, right?
No, in the printing, right? If you can put it all in the same warrant with the 2 different dates, I'm wondering.
No.
Well, and
Just from past experience.
Intro.
No, straight, just sharing information. From past experience, we would post for one night, but the administrative staff would reserve the school for 2 nights. And it get to be 10:50 and say, I vote to continue to date and time certain.
Okay.
Come back tomorrow at 7 p.m. There's nothing printed that said it will go 2 nights.
Okay.
It's like we start and we go through all the articles.
so keep in mind, Sue Jacobson, keep in mind that our town moderator is town council for many communities. So it may not be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It may be one night this week and then one night the following week, because Jay is at other town meetings for his job.
Right.
Right.
But there is always a second evening that's reserved. So, and it's been a long time, but I used to do the admin stuff for the advisory committee. I'm sure everything is significantly more expensive, but I'm shocked that the fire station's separate town meeting was $9,000.
Oh, I just said that number.
I've heard that number before
Okay.
for a special town meeting too.
Yeah, that was stuck in my head, but I can't. It's late.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
get it.
my confidence
I get
level
it.
in that number now.
Again, it's
now
been a
that's
number of
brought up.
years, and things could cost a lot more than they did.
So we kind of talked about process a little bit. That's good to have that discussion. But really more, I want to get sense of concept too. That's kind of the process is one side of it, but there's really not.
Whether or not we would do the R1?
Yeah, like if you're like, no, there's like, we're not, like, does it have merit, right? So is that merit option?
I mean, I'm open to anything, but I can't tell from looking at this. I need to like look at it on Google
Sure.
and look at like Google Earth and.
So I think what is that? Everything below Main Street, essentially?
I'll bring Google for you.
Thank you.
How's that? What do you want, would you like to see?
I'm just trying to
I'll zoom out.
envision what areas this would include.
So R3 is that, well, I can darken it up a little bit so you can see it.
We're not usually working on residential districts.
No, so you got R3, you know, obviously down the bottom in Palmville, which is pretty much developed more or less. There's some stuff, but, so it's kind of scattered in here, coming up here. And it's really up on the other side of to the Medfield Mills line.
And this isn't to remove R3 completely. We're
Right.
not looking to do that. We're looking to
Right.
take everything pretty much south of Main Street down and have that be R1.
So here's R2 there, that's R1.
So what parts would turn into, where would R1 bleed down into?
So here,
Okay.
up into here.
So like
And then that little piece above the purple.
CPC has this plan, you know, that identifies land that would love to work with people to one day obtain. A lot of it is in that area, so you switch that to R1 and that kind of prices. I mean,
Or we do
CPC's
it-
already priced out of buying that stuff right now anyway, that kind of.
So the alternative option, door two, if you will, is to look at doing a bonus. So
The
you're
open
not,
space.
you're not outright rezoning larger areas of land. You're giving them a bonus to be able to.
But it's got to be useful open space because that piece of open space that we have at the end of Frederickson is useless.
Actually, there's one that's right behind my house that's pretty useless too.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the cul-de-sac that touches the cul-de-sac?
Yes.
That's a beautiful walkway.
They literally kiss. No, but what you don't know is that if you look to the left or the right, depending on which way you're standing, there's an actual path or an overgrown path that goes down along that fence line into an open space.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, because you can't see it. There's literally no path to get to it because it's all overgrown now.
So
we can conceptually, there's got to be something we can think through here, but I'm not sure. Like, we probably just have to have a bigger discussion.
I think the question right now at hand is this something that we want to entertain? We don't have any drafted language for this or
No.
anything like that to review. We're not at that stage yet. That would be in a future thing. Tonight, in front of us, we do have the B1 district language that we can review and go through, but the intent of this is to understand, is this something that we want to entertain and move forward with, yes or no?
One or the other?
Yes.
Or meaning, okay.
What about I like this conceptually, but I have questions about how to execute it, because I think there's a lot of downstream impacts that we have to talk our way through.
So
that's more my, I'm not black and white. It's like this or that. It's more of a.
No, I think that gives us enough to come to the next meeting with like what the various options are.
Yeah.
You have your concerns brought out, and we can have further discussion, maybe some draft language for either option that we can review.
Yeah.
And it's not a no, it's a maybe.
I think that sounds like a good idea, and that'll give me more time to poke around on Google Earth.
Yeah, I think what would you want, so in terms of,
I think if you could provide us with an example of the open space kind of like rider and how it's been used prior to that
Sure.
meeting, that would be helpful.
Is this how the place up Park Street on Rentham was built out, right? That's like,
in Rentham?
yeah, the one in Rentham there, that's up Park Street near me. It's super tight, like houses are touching each other, but the whole buffer is the whole, like it's
I can look and
along
see, it
the
might have
Mill
been,
River and stuff.
it could be. I'll check with Rachel and Rentham, that might
Oh,
be
it's
an
Mill,
open space.
Mill Pond, no, Mill.
It used to be Park Place, which I thought was funny, but then they, yeah, the
It's
reserve
directly-
at Mill
it's
Pond or
directly
something.
across from our neighborhood.
Yeah.
The Bush Pond?
It's Mill something, right?
The reserve at Mill, so if
It's right
you
here.
come out.
Reserve at Mill Pond, I think
Across
you're
from
right.
Warren?
Yeah, across.
Talking about this one
across
here?
from Warren, you go straight, yeah, that.
Oh, but that's not, those houses aren't tight together, it's because they clear cut the land.
They're pretty
That-
tight. Those are small
Yeah,
lots.
that's-
For the
it's-
size of the houses.
I thought it was
those are-
Bush Pond Reserve or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't think those are,
That might just be
Oh,
straight
they are
out.
small lots.
yeah, that looks almost 40B.
It's not,
definitely
it's not, it's
40B.
not.
Almost.
Not
not.
even-
Don't
not even
get that
close.
retraction.
Yeah.
Did we hear those lots were 30,000 square feet?
I don't know about those, I have to look and see.
Okay.
I know it's acre zoning in that area in Rentham. I just don't know if that
Well, I
was.
distracted us. I thought that might be it, but maybe it's not.
I don't
Like,
think that-
we have some examples in town.
Yeah, that
though,
looks smaller than an acre.
They are. We almost bought a house in there, so I probably have some information on
Well,
it.
how big is your lot? I mean, Fox Run's an open space subdivision, not that,
Mine
That's
is,
the other one. Yeah, Fox.
Mine's Fox Run. So there's,
well, we
I
could
don't
look
even
and see.
know.
I
Mine's not an
suppose.
acre though. Mine's definitely under an acre.
Yeah, we could look.
Yeah,
and
and you
see.
don't, your
And I have a
frontage
big
is,
lot.
your frontage was pretty tight.
Front, yeah, and still I don't like it. I want less.
The less things to mow and maintain. The
Yeah.
Well, so
That was part of our conversation.
so here's the.
Right.
Just want to live in.
That's the
Maine.
problem. So, the problem solver is like, people do want to see less per se, right? And there's a lot of benefits to it, but how do we connect it, right? That's the,
Right.
So let's have that conversation.
all
Figure out
right.
some options.
So the all right, let me look at the
Examples of
open,
the open space.
I'll look at the open space as a bonus, like how that would look, because that's certainly, you're not dealing with districts and you are dealing on a site by site as the development comes in terms of how it's designed.
And then it leaves it within our purview from a special permit perspective,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I'll check with Amanda to get kind of a cost on what the last town meeting
Okay.
expense was. You know, this, if it were a separate town meeting, the warrant would be much smaller, so it
Right.
would be significantly less money.
Yeah, true.
But the postage would be the same, you know, close. And the printing costs, we could adjust a little bit, but I can check and see what the last town meeting cost, mailing and all of that.
And I may be thinking of special elections, which would be a little more expensive. so
Correct.
that might be.
Correct.
Oh, that's probably what I'm thinking of too.
Yeah.
A special, yeah. Not a special town meeting, a special election, I think is what I heard 9,000 for.
So really, I think it would be more comparable to a fall town meeting, expense-wise. Smaller warrant.
Yeah.
Same number of folks we're mailing to.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a comparable expense, so I can get that information.
That'd be great.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
And then we switch back to B1.
Yeah, let's go
Yeah,
through
I was
this.
like, did you say R1? Are we working on residential now?
So,
Haven't heard that in 3.5 years.
so in terms of the proposing, the approach to the B1 is to basically the things that we've identified through study in terms of potential barriers or limiting factors, the board, the planning board, through the special permit process, would be able to modify those requirements. So that's how I went through and identify the ones that have come up previously through the reports. The one thing, speaking with town council, was you could You could put an upper limit on it, so you have like X and go to this, which I think I want to ask them and see if we could not, like, you could have some that do and some don't. The example I think of is density per se. So if you look at the Rockwood Road building where the liquor store is and the dry cleaners, it's not
Right. Child.
substantially, in terms of acreage, when you apply the units per acre, I think it's like 12 units. So for someone to see that as feasible to either, which would be a big endeavor, to add on top to go up, or then demo, reconstruct, it's just not feasible from a development standpoint. So the density one's a little bit, I mean, other people will think about that, but that, when you apply that kind of formula, it could be tricky. It could work in a lot of cases where you keep an upper limit, but in that case, it might be not advantageous for somebody to do something down the road. So I just that's one. The larger one, I think, is the stories. So our bylaw allows for 46 feet in height, but it only allows 3 stories. So there's.
And a half.
No, no half.
No half.
No half, just 3 stories. But you might see where we have talked about, and you've heard from proposals where it's a standalone residential, there's no commercial on the first floor. So it might work in one location, might not work in the other.
So it gets us that by special permit.
But it's by special permit. So that was the kind of cautionary thing. You could put a limit or not put a limit. So I haven't drafted it with a limit. If you think you would want to give consideration to a limit to how far you can go, let me, well, first, hopefully you like this concept. I mean, maybe you don't.
And then you're changing a couple of things from the zoning board of appeals to planning board.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we've talked about this before, at least.
Well, this is actually, we talked, and we have talked, and this is actually drafted language to that outcome, which also includes the mixed use, so in
Right,
terms of the use,
residential on the
those
first
2
floor.
uses in the use table, to create flexibility as well. I don't need to, obviously, I'll just introduce it
Yeah.
tonight,
How
but
would it work if you put in a limit? Would you have to do it individually, or would you like it?
I'm gonna check and see if we have to-
Like a table to the back that sort of gave you the categorical limits, or?
I'm gonna see how,
I think it would be good for us to have like some sort of a table that we are abiding by. I don't know that we necessarily need it to be something that's done at town meeting through an amendment of the bylaw necessarily. I think we have something from like a design standard perspective.
yeah, someone do already, because we have the design guidelines for the B1.
Mhm.
You know, which that ties back to this.
That's fair.
It's just that when you look at if you want to be true, if you decide to go with something that was 3.5, I don't think, the design guideline has 3.5 exhibits in there, but.
Right.
But there is the design aspect of it. So that's another, so the delay, which could have a positive economic impact on the town, if we're able to move some property that are interested in redeveloping and developing. And last but not least is the ADU. There is some kind of interpretive that we might need to make some change. I'm talking to the building commissioner. So for instance, the 900 square feet,
Mhm.
you know, is your measure on the interior wall, the exterior wall? So because if you measure for the exterior wall, now with the energy code, the wall, now the exterior wall is much larger, so now you start
That's
to
a
do
good point.
you start to do the math and it changes what the square footage is. So there's been discussion through their, all the commission.
Yeah, I always thought it was weird that they were doing gross living area. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not how anybody does, like, I don't know. They need to get some people that know how to do building. That's,
So there's a couple other things, but nothing crazy, but, The one that has come up, I will say, is right now we have someone who wants to take a detached, non-conforming outbuilding, I'll call it, I don't know how to see it, I'll say.
Oh, is it on Boardman?
No.
Oh, there's another one coming then.
There's another, I know of another one coming then too.
On Old Populatic. And, we had a discussion internally, it's like, well, does that really need to go to the planning board? Because it's an existing outbuilding. The interpretive is taken that it does have to come to the planning board. So, that's probably something we wanna, either we're not gonna, either it doesn't come to the planning board, or you're gonna make sure it's clear that you do have to. I know I said, at least from sitting drafting this, talking to you all, it was that had to come to the planning board.
It sounds like it would, yeah.
Yeah, so that was what I said to Dave. I'm like, that's not, because Peter was talking about in the office as well, so, but that's one, so. Now, that one's literally down there on the property line. There's like,
Yeah, I know that neighborhood.
that are?
yeah, there's a bunch of advisory kind of things that we need to be aware of as you eventually get one, but the space thing has definitely come up a couple of times already.
Yeah, I think we were pretty generous with what we provided in there, though.
We did, but, well, but if we have.
There's always outliers.
Yeah, we have on the larger side, we have a family that lives over, I won't name the specific location,
don't
but
like it.
they want to add one onto their house she wants to add on for her parents, and it doesn't, it's above.
Right.
Above?
Yeah, it's too big.
Oh.
She has a big house.
Above the square footage.
Yeah, it's above, so it's larger than.
I've heard from people too, like, who can allow it bigger? Like, I don't know.
I don't know if it's a fair question. I suppose I guess.
I actually had a lot of questions that were like, it was mostly from people that have the non-conforming existing building where it would look perfectly fine.
So they can do it. It's just treated as a non-conforming structure, so you can do it's allowed, but.
It's still gonna stay at 900 square feet. There's no around that.
No, there is no larger than, no. That one's not even that big, it doesn't reach that square footage. But, so anyway, that was the other kind of, I'll say, potentially pressing because it's on the books. Those are identified right now.
Okay.
We got a lot of small things coming up.
Big and small, so that was kind of
Do you want us to go through this language tonight, or?
No.
Okay.
No, I think I want to have you, it's kind of a late hour. I think you can just individually give me your thoughts between now and the next meeting and.
People's faces.
Gary's like, please let me go.
I know.
No, I'm just looking
at-
I'm just looking at Andrew, and he's like, please.
Other Gary.
No, so I'm not asking.
From Ava, like, when are you gonna be home?
Yeah, so, I'll see. So between now and then, I don't know, and I'll see if I can see where that.
I think I need first tonight.
All right. Any other
Sometimes I wait till they go
updates, Rich?
No.
All right, so we've got a pretty decent agenda coming up on the 10th.
Yeah.
March 10th looks good for most of us, right? April 14th, that's the week before school vacation, I believe, or the 2 weeks before school vacation. Then we have May 12th, June 9th, July 14th, August 11th, and we can deal with those later, but nothing immediate from a scheduling perspective that we have to worry about with regards to the next 3 months.
I don't think.
Well, the May meeting, you might want to make
It
well, it
depends on.
depends on you.
Yeah, I would
That's
wait
the-
until what we figure out
Sure,
with
yeah.
the special town meeting.
Yeah.
So I would aim by March for us to figure out what that May meeting is.
Sure, yeah.
I may have to join February remotely, but I'll be there.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
Maybe I'll come back from New York City for 3 hours, then
You
go
should.
back
You should
down.
do that.
I mean, there
Show
is an
your
Excel.
commitment, Dan.
That's what I'm taking, is Helen.
Oh, all right.
Are you getting one of the next gen cars?
I am on this trip. Yeah. I'm excited to check it out.
Chargers everywhere, it's great.
Yeah.
All right. Any other unanticipated new business?
No.
Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.